の上に眺める画面に映った二人笑ってた。知りたくないほど知りすぎてくこと、ただすぎる日々に飲み込まれた。それでもただもう一度だけ会いたくて、あなたの言葉にうなずき信じた私は一人置き去りで恋は過ぎる。見えていたはずの未来も指の隙間はすり抜けた。求めない日々のかけらとあなたの気配を今でも探してしまうよ。まだあの日の二人手を伸ばしてる。
Chapter 6, The Cat's Mark. The next week and a half was weird for me and my life. I was now officially a part of the Baxter Foundation. I spent most of my time there these days, coming home only late in the night. May and Ben didn't approve of it at first, but once they found out the work I was doing could have lives, they begrudgingly understood. In reality, however, I actually spent an hour or so with the FF before going off on patrol as Spider-Man. Sue understood though, after all that was part of the deal. This way I got to be a hero and a scientist. Ha, and Peter always said this was hard. I still remember the first day I came to the Baxter building as Peter Parker and not Spider-Man. I had to fight through the giant crowd gathered outside and into the lobby. And even then the guards wouldn't let me go up, so Johnny had to personally come down and clear me through. I'm pretty sure my picture was going to be in the front page tomorrow though. Mysterious boy enters Baxter building. Hopefully they didn't get a good enough shoot. So Peter, how did your aunt and uncle take it? Johnny asked. I shrugged, as well as you can expect. I think they are still mad I lied to them, but the fact I got a job here seems to make them happy. Good man, heck, maybe one day you should come clean to them, you know? Tell them who you really are. Johnny lead me through the elevator doors into a large hallway. Yeah, not going to happen. They freak out if I'm late from a friend's place. Can you imagine what they could do if they knew I was Spider-Man? Johnny shrugged. If you think so. He stopped before a door and pressed his hand on the palm scanner next to it. Welcome to your new home. My eyes went wide. Whoa, I blinked as I looked around the large, nearly empty room. I had a large monitor and computer system up against one wall, a table, and a few tools, but other than that it was completely empty. This is so cool. Johnny grinned. I thought you'd think that. Anyway, make yourself at home. My lab is just 3 doors down and Sue's is right opposite to yours. Reed's further down the hall, but, maybe don't go there unless he gives you permission. Guy is freaky when it comes to personal space. I nodded as I put my bag on the chair and took out my notes. This is great, Johnny. I have many things I want to test out. Hey, do you think you can help me out? Johnny blinked. Me? What do you mean? Well, last night I came up with a theory on how your powers work. I want to test it out, I explained as I looked around my lab. God, it feels weird saying that, and found a Geiger counter. It was a complex one with a customizable setting. I would need to change its internal working though for it to detect the energy signatures I wanted it to. Wait, what? You think you know how my powers work? That's crazy, man. Even Reed can't figure that out. I shrugged. It's only a theory, man. Chill out. I began working on the Geiger counter, adding a thin filament of nickel to the counter. The people on my Earth had a theory that Johnny's powers, and the rest of the FF for that matter, were dimensional energies. And their accident allowed them to control that energy. And since it looked like I was dealing with the ultimate FF, who gained powers from teleporting, that looks to be the case now as well. If I recall correctly, Johnny's powers were once supercharged by a place called the negative zone. It allowed his flames to grow so powerful he couldn't switch them off. But that was just a theory, and now I would need to test it off. I pointed the meter at Johnny. Go flames. It's called flame on. Johnny grumbled as he turned up the heat, covering himself in flames. I looked at the Geiger counter and watched as the reading grew, and I smiled. Perfecto. So? What did you find out? Johnny asked, switching off his flames. I think your powers are coming from another dimension, and your body right now is serving as some kind of portal. Well, not portal, more like a reverse sponge. Wait, how could you possibly know this? What did you do to the Geiger counter? I added a layer of nickel to it. I pointed at the nickel patch. This detected the amount of heat you gave off. And the counter to detected your fire, which is radiating outwards, but not in harmful amount. So your power bursts out, and irradiated. You're not absorbing anything out here in the air, so it must be coming from inside you, and when it reacts with our atmosphere it explodes, behaving like fire. You're not a fireball, you're basically leaking white phosphorus like radiation. Johnny blinked. Whoa, that's amazing. Holy shit, Peter, that was so freaking cool. Here, this is Reed's email ID, send your theory to him, I'm sure he would love to hear it. I nodded to Johnny and did just that. Honestly, Peter's mind was amazing. I had the theory, but Peter's intelligence made it all happen. After that I meet Reed, Ben, and Sue for dinner. We talked a bit about the things I would work on and how I could help. Reed took a look at my findings and needless to say he was impressed, though I could detect a hint of distrust in his tone of voice which honestly confused the hell out of me. As the week went by, the legend of Spider-Man only grew in time. Thanks to my timings at the Baxter building, I was able to go out on patrol on nights. I must have stopped 3 muggings a day, on top of all the other things. People talked about me like I was an urban legend, of the things Spider-Man was rumored to have done. They had correctly guessed that I was the one who took out the GST block party a week ago and that I had something to do with their arrest, but the rest of the rumors were all pretty weird. Some thought I was a demon from hell out to punish the wicked. I'm pretty sure that one was a troll just making waves for fun. But others thought I was a madman with a box. One theory suggested I was a member of the FF that didn't like publicity and got my powers the same way they did. People even started to take pictures of me. Hell, I was the meme of the week. Even people in school were talking about me like I was a god. It honestly made me kind of shy to be around people knowing how much they loved Spider-Man. Honestly though, I found the crimes that are committed on the streets to be minor and few in between. I needed a new criminal project, and soon. I had been following the GST trial closely and it looked like Matt pretty much had the whole thing in the bag. The evidence wasn't immutable in court though, which was sad, but the drug bust in the warehouse was more than enough to have them all sent to jail. I had kept up with my training with Colleen, who had now taught me all the katas she knew for the sword. It was a blessing and a curse to have a brain like mine. I memorized the katas in seconds, though I'll admit it does take me a while to actually apply them to combat. Colleen moved me up on her class list. I was now in the 3rd hour classes and had just began hand-to-hand training. I could tell she was still holding back, not willing to teach me everything a hand ninja would know, but that's fine. Sooner or later Colleen wouldn't able to help herself, she would teach me just to know that she could. Call it warrior's pride or whatever you wish, but I knew her, she was after all my sensei. Though one incident over the last week did stick out to me. I had a run-in with Felicia, only we were both in costume. I was swinging down Wall Street when I hear a window break open. I landed on the opposite building and watched as a figure dressed in black shimmed along the side of the building and landed on the roof of shorter building next to. I narrowed my eyes and smiled. She still wore a black tracksuit and a mask. It was honestly kind of cute. I swung towards her and dropped down. Hey kitty. The black cat turned around as I grabbed her around the waist and rolled around the roof. I ended up on top with her below between my arms. I grinned. We really have to stop meeting up like this. Spider, she blinked, what are you doing here? Oh, you know how it is, I was in the neighborhood, though I should stop by. I looked at her belt and found a pouch stuffed full. Have you been stealing again? What I do isn't any business of yours, she growled. Ah, yet it is. Hero, thief, see how it works? I asked. Sorry Spider, but I don't have time to flirt, she kneed my groin causing me untold pain. I knelt down in pain as she crawled away and ran to the roof's edge and jumped. Not this time. I yelled as I shoot a web line at her and pulled her back into the roof. She grunted in pain and quickly got up, drawing a knife and slicing my webbing. Hey, this stuff is expensive you know. I chuckled. I'm sure you can cover it, she smiled as I got on my feet and we circled each other. She lunged forward first with a swipe of her blade. I easily avoided, caught her forearm and twisted it around to her back, turning her around and grabbing at her hips. You know Cat, you can do so much more fighting for the good guys, I whispered. What makes you think I'm not? Stealing isn't usually what good guys do, I told her. That's what you think. Your definition of good and bad needs to be reworked Spider. I only steal from those who deserve it. Like a small-time jewelry store. A front for a mafia uptown. And the office of the Wall Street guy you broke into. He's a broker, you really think he isn't dirty? So what? You're a modern-day Robin Hood. No, I said I steal from the rich, I never said I gave to the poor, she broke out of my grip and kicked me back. She ran to the roof and turned around and blew me a kiss, next time Spider, and them jumped down, landing on the roof of another building before jumping away into an alley and away for sight. I sighed as I got back on my feet, she really was a handful. I pulled out the pen drive I picked from her satchel and grinned, the score was all tied up. I broke the pen drive and threw the pieces away, I doubt it will be of any use now. And so after all that, I still find myself stuck once more in school, which I am quickly coming to find is the most boring part of my life. I was stuck in history class ignoring my teacher who was going on and on about how much World War II sucked. I sighed as I skimmed through my textbook, looking at all the pretty pictures and gruesome deaths. I stopped at a picture of Captain America and blinked, that's right, he's a war hero in this world isn't he? I turned to chapter of my book that dealt with Steve Rogers and looked at all the pictures and details. It looked a lot like in the movies, Peggy, that German scientist being killed, Bucky dying, all the good stuff. But then I noticed something, in one of the photos, Steve was posing with his army buddies sitting on boxes with bombs on them, the words, property of Hitler spray painted on the side. But what I found most curious was the man standing next to Steve with the Canadian flag on his jacket. He looked feral with mutton chops and a cigar between his teeth. I immediately had a feeling I knew this man but I couldn't be sure. I looked down to the names listing the soldiers in the pictures and landed my eyes on a name I didn't expect to see here. James Howlett. James Howlett, the real name of Logan, also known as the Wolverine. Fuck, mutants were real in this world. They were fucking real, oh shit, oh fuck me in the ass. I am so fucked. What if a psychic read my mind? Oh fuck. I need to add, blocking out mental assholes who don't respect a person's mental privacies onto my list. I wondered if Charles has established his school yet, were Scott and Jean his students? Is Magneto made a public outing? No, not at all. If they did, mutants would be the talk of the town and Spider-Man would have just been dismissed as a mutant. No, mutants were still hidden in this world, they weren't even urban legends just yet. Mr. Parker, I heard the teacher call out my name. I sighed and looked up at her, yes. Are you paying attention? Ah, yes. Really? Then tell me who lead Hitler's science and development branch. I blinked, wait, wasn't that Hydra? The Red Skull ma'am, he also renamed the branch into Hydra. Very good Peter, but his name wasn't Red Skull, what was his real name? I blinked, what do you mean his real name wasn't Red Skull? What I mean is that it was just a moniker he went by, he does have a real name you know. Yeah but that's the name he chose, I shrugged, the name he chose wasn't the name his parents gave him. They probably expected him to be a nice little boy and be an angel to everyone he meets. But H wasn't, he was a Jew-hating Nazi, and because of that his actions deserve to be called by the name his choice. His name is and will always be the Red Skull. That's a very unique answer, Mr. Parker, the teacher sighed. Fine, let's just move on. I nodded as she went back to her lesson. I looked around and saw people staring at me from the side. MJ gave me a smile, Harry and Flash looked bored, and Liz was texting someone on her phone. My eyes then landed on the newest addition to our class, the beautiful and glamorous Feliciahardy. She was always aloof, never talked to anyone, and the envy of all girls and desires of all boys. She was the biggest loner in the school, before me of course, and right now she was looking right at me. I met her gaze and didn't back down. We looked at me like I had just told her something profoundly interesting. Her emerald eyes didn't blink and I didn't either. Was this a contest or something? Was she trying to gauge me? Did she know? No, of course she didn't. And even if she did, I knew who she was as well, mutually assured destruction. Finally she blinked and turned away. I did as well, as we both turned to the board. I didn't know what that was about, but I knew it wasn't over by a long shot. At the end of the class I gathered my stuff and got ready to leave, but just then I heard Felicia call out, "Hey Muscles, wait up." I blinked. Was she calling me? No, that was stupid. I ignored it and walked out when suddenly she grabbed my shoulder and turned me around. She hissed, "I told you to wait up." I raised an eyebrow. "Did you just call me Muscles?" "Yeah, duh," she snorted. "Are you serious?" I asked, blinking, because I don't know if you've heard, but I'm apparently skinny as fuck. If you want muscles, Flash is your guy. Ha. Finally something we can both agree on, Parker. Flash called as he slipped between me and Felicia, grinning at her. "So, you want something, babe?" "Not from you, meathead," Felicia snorted. "Move, I was talking to Muscles over here." "Wait, you're serious? Are you crazy?" "Parker's puny. He can't even lift a dumbbell." Flash laughed, and a few other kids watching this little confrontation did as well. I just rolled my eyes. If only they knew. "If you think that, then you're blind," Felicia smiled sly as she walked past Flash and slipped into my comfort zone. I blinked in confusion as she suddenly pressed her hand up against my pec and pressed, "Don't let the baggy clothes fool you, Muscles is packing something tight under these." She was stalking me like a prey, her eyes daring me to say something. I knew the rest of the school still thought I was a wimpy kid, despite my personally shifting over the last month. Guess she thought I wouldn't stand up for myself. She was wrong. "You know, Felicia, if you're going to cup a feel, you should at least buy me dinner first," I smiled. She raised her eyebrows in surprise before smirking. "Well, Muscles, what would you like to eat?" "You." Felicia smirked, "Going a little fast there, Muscles," says the woman, rubbing her fingers round my nipples. "Am I?" "Oops," she stepped back. "I do need to talk to you though." "Have a moment." "Lunch." "Starving." "Lead the way," I motioned, following behind her. I looked at Flash's jaw hang out and closed it. I smiled at HMI and followed Felicia to the lunchroom. "I don't like her." MJ narrowed her eyes as she saw Peter leave with that new girl. "What a surprise," Liz said, rolling her eyes. "I wonder why that is." "It's not like that," MJ blushed and denied. "Yeah, keep telling yourself that, sweetie, maybe one day it'll be true." Liz turned to Flash. "What exactly were you thinking?" "Babe." "Nothing, I was just being friendly to the new girl is all dash." "Save it, Flash," Liz growled. "If I find you ever flirting with that bitch, we are done, understand?" "But Liz dash." "Understand." Flash sighed. "Yes." "Come on, I want to see where they're going." MJ grabbed Liz's hand, following them. "Oh, relax, would you? Parker's finally getting some attention." let the geek enjoy it for a while, Liz replied, rolling her eyes only to have MJ completely ignore her. Felicia and I sat down opposite each other in the middle of the lunch hall. I could feel the people looking at us. Usually I would sit in a corner to avoid detection, but Felicia had chosen this table. Was she making a statement? Maybe, but why? And for what reason? I took out my lunch and ate. Felicia raised an eyebrow at the PB&J sandwich. Is that seriously all you brought to eat? I shrugged. I eat more at work. A friend of mine and I end up eating out most of the time. It's easier, and since the office pays for it I don't have to worry about lunch per se. She hummed. Where do you work? Someplace special, I smiled. You aren't going to tell me. Are you going to tell me your life story? Felicia smirked. No, I guess not. So Muscles, tell me, why exactly do people avoid you? I snorted. Please don't call me that, it's really silly. If you're going to give me a nickname, make it cooler, like Pete, or Petey. Muscles makes me sound so arrogant. No, I don't think so, I like the name. I rolled my eyes. I had a feeling you were going to say that. Now, are you going to answer my question or keep deflecting? I shrugged. Nothing to tell really. They don't like me, I'm kind of antisocial, plus I'm pretty smart, so they tend to avoid me. A friend once told me it's because they are scared of me, but I don't really think that's true. Maybe, maybe not. Felicia took out her own lunch, a box of chicken salad, but you know what I think? That you should eat more than just a salad. A girl has to keep her figure, you know, she smiled. Something tells me you can do that even while eating burgers, I smiled back. Checking me out, have you? Just as much as you have been me, I reply back. You know, I think I'm starting to understand why they were weary of you. You're very perceptive, and also dangerous. I blinked. How so? You said it yourself, I've been observing you. You don't behave like a teenager, you're ignored but you don't mind, in fact you like it sometimes. Kids don't like being ostracized, we hate it, but you're used to it. And you're also smart. Smart enough to be in college right now, but for some reason you're here, hiding. A child genius would be put on a spotlight, but a teenager who's smart and still in school? No, you're hiding something, Muscles. I'm going to find out what exactly that is. I couldn't help the shock that came over me. I stared at this gorgeous girl before me and realized she was probably the closest person to finding out my secret identity. I knew I should be afraid, curious even, but I couldn't help myself. I was impressed. You know, Felicia, I think I'm in love, I smiled. Sorry, Muscles, you're not my type, she smiled back. I shrugged. I figured. So, why did you want to talk? Just to tell me you think I'm dangerous? Or is it actually something important? Felicia sighed. No, there is actually a reason. Mr. Goldberg, our physics teacher, told me I needed to improve my grades. I started pretty late, so I need to catch up. He suggested I ask you for help. Which is when you started to creep on me, I concluded. Yup, she nodded as she ate a piece of boiled chicken, though I have to admit I was actually not going to bother at all. I don't need to waste hours of my life listening to some know-it-all lecture me. I'm already suffering in school for that. So you have judged me worthy, I'm honored, I chuckled. No, not really. I wasn't going to bother, until I heard what you said. I looked confused and she explained, in history, you talked about how the names you pick best represents the people we really are. How the names we have are the hopes and burdens our parent has on us. It really struck a chord with me, so I figured, why not? You sound interesting enough after all. I raised an eyebrow. I take back what I said. I don't think I'm in love, I know I'm in love. Damn, if only she was actually interested in Peter Parker. So you want me to tutor you? Pretty much, yeah. Well, I don't really have much time, which was true. I had Colleen's classes, Baxter building stuff and being Spider-Man to add into the mix. It would be difficult to include her into that, but I'm curious. She's made me curious and I want to learn more about the silver-haired girl. I can manage 1 hour after school. Sorry, but no more. Wow, so I'm only worth an hour of your time? You know half these boys would kill for a chance to spend time with me every day. Yeah, well they aren't me, and I do have a life of my own, you know. Like what? A job. Oh, right, the mysterious job, she said sarcastically. I blinked. You think I'm lying? Yes. Why would I lie about having a job? Because you don't want people to know how lonely you really are. Didn't you just say I didn't mind being alone? Also said you wanted to blend in, give people no reason to suspect you. I laughed. Okay, you got me there, Felicia. But I am serious, I only have an hour to spend, sorry. It's fine, I don't think I can stand you for more than an hour away, she huffed, munching on her vegetables. Well, and the truth comes out at last, I snorted. By the way, you look like a cow if you keep munching on that leaf any longer. She glared. If looks could kill, I would be dead. She swallowed and sighed. So muscles, what else are you busy with that you can't spare time for friends? Well, let's see, my job mostly, I shrugged. It's in Manhattan, so it takes a long time for me to travel. I also go to, well, self-defense classes, so yeah, that. Self-defense class, she raised an eyebrow. Who would be stupid enough to pick on little OU? Flash, I shrugged. Oh, right, she looked over my shoulder. You mean the big blonde guy who's filling in the role of the average high school bully? I turned around and spotted Flash glaring me and MJ glaring at Felicia. The moment MJ noticed I was looking at her, she turned away, while Flash just growled. I snorted. Yeah, that's him. Looks like he has only 2 brain cells to spare. Maybe less, I shrugged. What type of martial arts are you learning? She asked curiously. Kendo, I shrugged. You do know that's not actual self-defense class, right? Felicia snorted. It's just swinging a sword. Hey, it's a lot more complicated than that, believe me. Plus I seem to recall I kicked your ass with it a couple of nights ago, yeah? Okay, let's say you're in a fight and you don't have a sword. Wouldn't your skills be useless? No, not at all. Kendo isn't just wielding a sword, there are also other aspects to it. Plus I've just started learning hand-to-hand taijutsu, so my classes aren't a complete waste of time, and considering just who my teacher was, I wouldn't dismiss her style so quickly. The silver-haired girl shrugged. Your wish. Don't come crying to me if some punk with a knife shanks you. Don't see that happening. I finished my sandwich. Tell me, Felicia, what type of martial arts do you practice? She raised an eyebrow. What makes you think I practice martial arts? The fact that you sound like you know what you're talking about. I raised an eyebrow. She chuckled. Yeah, fine, no point denying it anyway. I practice judo and taekwondo, she shrugged. Well, you certainly have the legs for taekwondo, I shrugged. Perv. Stalker. Weirdo. Same thing, I chuckled. We talked some more. She basically questioned me on everything, what I like, what I didn't, and I made sure to know just as much about her that she now knew about me. Lunch was over too quickly for my liking. We said our goodbyes and went to our separate classes. I was looking forward to the hour of tutoring I would spend with Felicia. I didn't bother paying attention during last period history. That is until my spider sense went off and I ducked to the left to avoid a paper ball. I turned around and saw MJ looking at me in surprise. But she quickly squashed her surprise and began writing something down in her book before showing it to me. What's with you and Hardy? I rolled my eyes. I quickly wrote back a reply. She wanted me to tutor her in physics after school. MJ looked surprised. Can I join? I need help as well. I'll talk to Felicia and tell you, she did ask first. Okay. I was strange seeing MJ jealous, or at least I think it's jealousy I'm sensing, but I would be lying if I didn't feel happy. After all, this was the first time someone was feeling jealous because of me, kind of a proud moment. After class ended, I meet up with Felicia outside the school, where she took me to a coffee shop a block away. She greeted the owner with a smile and made light conversation with him before we sat down near the back away from everyone else. Been here often? I asked her. Just once or twice, she shrugged. Mom knows the owner, kind of a family friend. I figured we can get some studying done here. You do know the library is open till 5, right? I told you, Muscles, I don't want to be in that place more than I need to. Now, do you want something? I thanked her for the offer but declined. We got to work. I found out while Felicia was smart in her own way, physics was not her friend. It took a long time for me to explain the basics to her, but I think she understood it in the end. I did find out something interesting though. When the barista lady came over with Felicia's order, her eyes were glued to woman's rear. Was Feliciahardy in this world gay? No, not the way she was groping me earlier. Bisexual, huh? She just gets hotter and hotter. Soon the hour came to an end and I was actually sad to see her pack her things. As we left the coffee shop, I decided to ask her about MJ. I told a friend of mine I was going to tutor me today and she asked if she could join. Do you mind? That depends, who is the friend? Maryjane. Ah, her, she likes you. I shrugged, maybe. You know. Felicia looked surprised. Yup, what? Did you think you were the only observant person in the world? No. So, what do you plan on doing? I shrugged, I don't know. What makes you think I should do anything at all? She likes you. And she hasn't told me or even asked me out. Before school started we were close, like really close. But then she became popular and I was pushed away. She's okay though, can't complain. Felicia shrugged, fine, you do whatever you want, Muscles, I couldn't care less. But I need to pass my physics paper, so if you start spending my tutoring time making out with the redhead, I swear I'll kick her ass. I shrugged, fine with me. And with that we parted. I went to training with Colleen and then to the Baxter building for an hour or so before swinging into night as Spider-Man. I arrived at home around 9 and pretended to go to bed. When I was sure May and Ben wouldn't try and disturb me, I snuck out in costume and continued my parole. It was a long night filled with crime and terror. For now I was basically on damage control, stopping crimes from happening, but I knew the root of the problem still existed and until I could figure who I should hit next it would remain. For the next week or so this was my schedule. I had school and then tutoring with Felicia and MJ. The redhead didn't like the platinum blonde much, but she didn't make the tutoring session any more difficult than it already was. In the end I actually managed to raise up the grades of both girls. My time with the FF was always interesting. Most of the time I assisted Reed or Sue in one of their projects, I would give my advice or help them out on their calculations. I was basically a temp with the added bonus of pay and time to do my own thing. My first invention was something I'm actually quite proud of, to be honest. Ben Grimm was actually the one who inspired me. He was trying to read the latest Sports Illustrated issue but kept dropping the tiny magazine due to his huge hands. He even got so frustrated he tore it by accident. I honestly felt bad for the guy, there was so much about him that would make anyone feel suicidal, but he kept on going and for that I'm proud to call him my friend. But maybe there was something I could do to help. So I got to work and invented the SA, or scan and adapt. It wasn't a groundbreaking feat of science or anything like that. It was actually a very basic idea. I made an elastic frame lined with intense image projectors that could serve to create a sheet of light that could work like a screen. It was a sort of pseudo-hologram, able to exist only within the frame itself, but it was exactly what I needed. I then put 2 cameras on the back of the frame and worked on a very basic programming for the system. And when it was done, I presented it to Ben. It was Thursday night and the FF had gathered around their dining table for dinner. You will never believe what they were having. If you guessed pizza, you were right. We should really start cooking our own food, Sue said, munching on a slice. Great idea, sis, only one problem, none of us know how to cook, Johnny shrugged. Maybe we should hire a maid. Reed suggested, so we have enough funds for that, Sue. No, we are barely making it as it is, Sue sighed. If we don't get a product we can market, we might need to slim things down. Are you planning on firing the kid? Ben asked as he used a wrench to pick up a slice before eating it. I hope not, but it just might come to that, Sue sighed. Where is Peter anyway? Johnny asked. I haven't seen him all day. He's working on a personal project, Reed explained. He didn't tell me what though. I hope he isn't doing something stupid in there. Hey guys. Glad you're all here. I yelled out, charging into the den with a grin on my face. Hey Peter, care for a slice? Johnny asked. Pizza? Again. You guys should really hire a chief or something, eating this much carbs might not be healthy, I warned. I loved pizza as much as the next guy, but there is something called too much of a good thing. Agreed. Anyway, where were you? Reed told you us were working on something. Sue asked. Yeah, I did. I grinned as I held up a black frame the size of my palm. Ta-da. Johnny raised an eyebrow. So what does it do? I'll show you. I quickly went to the living room and grabbed a Times magazine. I put the magazine on the table and held up the frame. I call this the scan and adapt. I stretched the frame out to the 3 times its size and placed it over the magazine and gave a command, scan. The frame turned alive as a blue screen appeared in the frame. Slowly an image of Time magazine cover spread in the frame. I held the frame up and smiled, ta-da. Reed raised an amused eyebrow, and, the point is. I rolled my eyes. The frame can expand to the size of a blackboard or shrink to the size of my palm. It scans documents and stores it away in your phone or whatever memory space you wish for. It can also quick scan. You just have to show a page for a fraction of a second for the SA to store its image away. Here, see. I had Sue hold the frame up as I flipped the pages in the magazine one by one. In a minute I was done scanning the 100 or so pages in the magazine. Save scanned pages as Times issue October 2011, I spoke. A tick mark appeared on the screen. The images all complied themselves into a digital magazine which appeared in my library in the device. So, you basically created an advanced version of the Kindle? Johnny asked, unimpressed. I grumbled, no, I created a device that can compile and adapt books in seconds. And we can also use it as a smart board. It's like comparing you to a birthday candle, Johnny. Okay, no need to get so defensive, Johnny held up his hands in surrender. It also has another purpose. My voice turned soft as I handed the extra-large essay to Ben. You don't have to worry about tearing any more book now, Ben. It's very hard to break, and if you do it's not a problem, you can just adapt all the stored data into a new one. Their faces were ones of shock when they realized what I was implying. Why, you did this for me, kid? Ben asked. I nodded. Yeah, figured your like was hard enough as it is. I realized I could help make it better. I know it's not much but dash. Oh, shut it, kid. Ben got down and wrapped me in a hug. Careful not to break my bones. Thanks, kid. Really, I owe you. Peter, that's amazing, Reed said in awe. I didn't even realize what Ben's going through. I shrugged. You have your problems to worry about. You might not seem different like Ben does, but you all have your issues too, right? Alright, when did the 15-year-old become the most mature person in the group? Sue asked with a chuckle. Maybe he always was. Reed got out of his chair and wrapped me up in a hug as well. You're a good kid, Peter. Thanks, Streck, I smiled, adapting Ben's nickname for the genius. You know, this is really amazing, Ben said, swiping the screen to turn the pages in the digital magazine. We could probably patent it and sell the rights of production to Amazon or someone, Sue speculated. We would have some issues though, with the likelihood of piracy so high. Maybe we should add a security system that prevents someone to exchange scanned data. It won't stop it completely, but it should be enough to stop any large complaints. Think we can make some money out of this? Johnny asked. Oh, most definitely, Susan grinned. Congrats, Peter, you just saved your job. Wait, what? I cried out, what do you mean? They were planning on firing you, Ben chuckled. Giant Rock Man says, what now? We weren't planning on firing you, just thinking about it, Sue defended. My jaw was open in shock. Relax, I said, you just saved yourself, didn't I? I sighed. That was a long day. Sue took the essay to a couple of patent lawyers and managed to get the ball rolling on making some profit off of it. I was excited to finally have a patent to my name and some cash for the co-owning rights. Looks like it was my lucky day. Sunday came too soon for me. I woke up late. I had been out all night fighting crime after all. I went down for breakfast and saw Ben sitting in front of the TV watching the news. I was about to ignore him and leave, but then I saw it. Stark Expo to be open to public on Friday. Today was the 30th of October, November would be starting soon, and with it the events of Iron Man 2. I knew what was going to happen. And I knew I had to take full advantage of it. I had a plan for Justin Hammer. I need to make sure it happens. Chapter 7, The Rhino. Monday was the 31st, also known as Halloween. But to me it was just a normal day. I walked down for breakfast but was surprised to see Ben and May dressed up. May wore giant Minnie Mouse ears Peter had bought for her on their day in Disney World, and Ben had a fake giant beard and a fake set of glasses with a giant nose on. I blinked looking at them. So, I'm guessing we're in the holiday spirit. Peter? Why haven't you dressed up? May smiled. It's Halloween, young man. Aunt May, aren't I getting a little old for dressing up? I asked as I sat down for breakfast. One is never too young to act their age, my son, Ben said in a mystical voice. I raised an eyebrow. Gandalf? No, just a smart ass, Ben grinned. But seriously, Peter, you loved dressing up for Halloween. May exclaimed. I nodded. Yeah, but, I mean, I don't even have a costume. Like that has ever stopped you from dressing up, Ben laughed. I'm sure you can throw something together, Peter, just use your imagination. I shrugged. Sure, I could do that, or... I walked into school and head turned. I walked with a swagger in my step, grinning under my mask as I saw people gasping in surprise. I wore a costume, all right, my costume. Spider-Man. Flash, dressed up in his own homemade Spider-Man costume, gasped as I walked past him. Not quite, I chuckled as I pulled the mask off, rallying my smiling face to a very disappointed Flash. Like it? I made it myself. You don't deserve to wear that costume, Flash growled. Like I care what you think, I rolled my eyes walking past him. Spider-Man is a hero, Parker. He's brave and amazing, something you aren't and never will be. I raised an eyebrow. Damn, Flash, since when did you start liking Spider-Man? Since ever, he growled as slowly people started to surround us. He saved a friend of mine from getting mugged. There was a gang in my neighborhood that hurt people, he stopped them. He's a freaking hero, Parker, you aren't. I raised an eyebrow. Flash lived in the bad part of town? I never would have guessed. I shrugged. You know, Flash, for someone who admires a hero who doesn't like bullying, you sure do a great job in being one. Tell me, do you think Spider-Man would like to have someone like you be his buddy? Flash paused as he started blush. Shut up, Parker. You don't know shit. Maybe, but at least I'm honest with myself. I walked away leaving an embarrassed Flash behind. School today was a little more interesting seeing people dressed up. I passed by a chemistry teacher dressed up as a water molecule. It was funny and creative. There was a guy who dressed up as a banana and another guy who dressed up as a monkey. They took one look at each other and smiled before the monkey started to chase the banana through school. First period was history, one I shared with everyone else. I walked in and saw Liz was dressed as an angel with a little pair of wings and a fake halo on her head. MJ seemed to have planned out her costume with Liz as she wore a devil costume with a fake tail and red horns while Harry was dressed as a 80s bike gang member. They all noticed me and blinked. Harry looked me over. Whoa, that's one cool costume. Who is it? Parker, Flash growled from the side. Guess he was still pissed at me calling him out. I took off my mask and wave. Hey everyone. Nice costume, Liz. I see it's opposite day as well. Shut it, wimp, Liz shot back. You look good, Peter, MJ spoke softly, blushing. Why is she blushing? Oh well. Thanks, MJ, you're one hot devil, I winked as I sat down in my seat. MJ blush was so red it matched her hair, but she quickly squashed it down, listening to her friends bitch about me. Felicia soon entered the room, took one look at me and stopped in her tracks. She blinked once, twice, and then walked in sitting down next to me. No costume? I asked. I'm too old to play dress up and pretend to be someone else, she replied back. I didn't expect the girl who went on and on about choosing to be a different person in life complain about wearing a costume. She smirked. Muscles, Feliciahardy is my costume. She looked me over. Nice one. Did you make it yourself? Yup. Like it? I tried to match the original as best I could. And you couldn't do anyone else but Spider-Man. Why don't like him? He has a special space in my heart, Felicia shrugged. You really should have dressed up, Felicia, Harry said from behind. You know, you would be perfect as the Black Cat. That grabbed both our attention. Felicia looked surprised, so I asked for her. Black Cat? Who's that? She's like this big-time thief man. Harry explained, she like steals from the rich and stuff. Yeah, and she like wears this sexy little outfit showing off her goods so that the people chasing her gets distracted. Flash said with a pervy grin that Liz noticed and smacked him up the head for it. Yeah, and what's more she like had silver hair. You would be perfect for it, Felicia. Harry grinned at her. Sounds stupid, Felicia grumbled, putting an end to the conversation. She then looked me over once more. Why don't you take off your jacket? It's warm enough, right? I blinked. She was right. I was starting to feel a little warm. The school did have internal heating after all. I shrugged as I unzipped my jacket and pulled it off, folding it over my armrest. Slowly, silence. I blinked, looking around, and realized everyone had stopped chatting and was now looking at me. I blinked and looked down. Was there something on my shirt? That's why I call you Muscles, Felicia spoke out loud, gaining everyone's attention. I looked at her. She was smirking as she stripped me with her eyes. Yup, she's definitely not gay. I blinked. Oh shit. I was wearing a muscle shirt underneath the jacket, like I usually do. So right now my spider powers enhanced body is being displayed to everyone in the class. My muscles had grown a little in size, but they were shredded and tight from constant use while I'm out fighting. You really shouldn't wear bulky clothes, Muscles, Felicia said, her perverse smile still there. It's a crime against humanity to keep that body hidden. Damn, I'll say, Zach, the few gay guys in school, whistled. I blushed. I couldn't help but feel embarrassed. I glared at Felicia, but the girl just laughed it off. She didn't even look sorry, bitch. For the rest of the day I was constantly stared at by people. Mostly girls, though a few guys did look as well. I noticed MJ didn't really seem fazed by this. She did after all see my topless before, but Liz looked like I had just broken her world. Needless to say, I couldn't wait for class to be over that day. Felicia, MJ, and I went into our regular coffee shop for out after school studies. We sat down and began to work. I was once again wearing my jacket and Felicia sighed heavily until I asked her what the matter was. Well, it's just so sad. My only piece of eye candy is gone, Felicia sighed. That jacket deserves to be burnt. I growled, I hate you. No you don't. She's right though Peter, you really should wear less bulky clothes. MJ shrugged, you have a great body, you should show it off. Red's right. Although I am curious, why weren't you shocked when the frog turned into a handsome price? MJ stammered, and no reason. I chuckled, that's because she already got a free show before. Hey. That was over a month ago. MJ protested. Oh? Does that mean you want to take another peepers? I asked laughing hard. Instead of looking embarrassed, MJ gave a very saucy smile. I wouldn't say no to that tiger. Tiger? Felicia whistled, nice nickname, you know what, I like that, tiger she purred seductively. I raised an eyebrow, you want a peek too? She shrugged, I wouldn't mind. Well I'm not that kind of man young ladies, I huffed, if you want some of this you best wine and dine me or no deal. So all I need to do to make you put out is to take you out for dinner. Felicia raised an eyebrow. Ah, I plead the fifth. MJ smirked, all right, you're on. I blinked, say what now? A date, let's go on a date, right now. She closed her books and packed them, I'm not in the mood to study. So, what do you say? Lunch and then a movie. I didn't even have time to respond when Felicia spoke up, so what? You're just going to leave me behind and go off on your own? Do you plan on coming with? MJ asked. You know what, yeah, I'm coming with you, Felicia smiled, you're not getting rid of me that easily. I gaped like a fish, do I get a say in this? No, Felicia smirked, now pack up tiger. I'm hungry for some Italian. Oh I know a place down the road. Best pasta I have ever had, MJ said as she grabbed my bag and Felicia dragged me outside the coffee shop. Sounds good, lead the way. I blinked as I was dragged along. I'm either the luckiest guy in the world or the unluckiest. We walked to the restaurant and got a table for 3 by the street window. I blinked looking at the menu, it wasn't expensive, but it would end up putting a dent in my wallet. I hadn't gotten my first month's salary from the FF yet, so I had to keep everything limited, but I suppose a date with 2 beautiful women counted as a reasonable expense. We quickly placed our orders. I sighed as I leaned back on my chair. So, why did you want to go out for lunch? I just felt like it, MJ shrugged. Besides, you said you wouldn't give me a look unless I took you out on a date, so here we are. You know you act differently when you're not with your entourage. Red, Felicia commented. MJ shrugged, what do you mean? You're not a stuck-up bitch. Well, I suppose, MJ didn't really know what to say. She's actually always like this, I told the platinum blonde, it's only with those idiots does she act different. Peter, that's rude, MJ huffed. What? They are idiots, I shrugged. Liz is a drama queen, Flash is a hypocrite and Harry, well, you already know how he reacts when people don't do what he asks. MJ sighed sadly, yeah, you're right about Harry, but Liz and Flash are better than they seem. Peter, trust me. I shrugged, we'll see. My, all this teenage drama, I'm so happy I get to be a part of this, Felicia said, rolling her eyes. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Felicia? I asked, I mean, I don't actually know anything about you. She raised a single eyebrow, like what? Do you like milk chocolate or dark chocolate? Milk. Pepsi or Coke? Coke. Scooby or Shaggy? Who? You know? From Scooby-Doo? The kids show. Oh, sorry no, I don't do kids shows. So what did you do when you were a kid? MJ asked. Stuff. Like, the redhead seemed curious. Well, gymnastics for one. You're a gymnast? MJ asked surprised. She does have the legs for it, I snorted. MJ glared at me while Felicia just smiled. Why Tiger, I never knew you were so bold, Felicia smirked, didn't I tell you to stop perving on me? I will when you stop stripping me with your eyes, I shrugged. You both are incorrigible, MJ sighed. Oh, is the little redhead feeling left out? Felicia chuckled, don't worry, I'm sure we'll have more than enough time for you later. I hate you, MJ growled. No you don't, Felicia sang like a melody as she quietly checked out MJ's ass. MJ didn't notice it, but I did, Felicia definitely liked girls. The date was weirdest one I have ever been on and the first one Peter Parker has ever been on. Well I suppose it wasn't really a date, more like an excuse to hang out. Felicia kept teasing MJ and I while we did our best to get her back, unfortunately the cat was too quick to catch off guard. We finished lunch, I paid for half the meal while Felicia and MJ covered the rest. We then decided to go watch a movie, but one look at my watch and I realized I was late. Have somewhere you have to be Tiger? Felicia asked as we walked down the road. Yeah, my self-defense class is going to start soon, I replied with a shrug. You're taking self-defense classes? MJ asked in surprise. Yup, I nodded. Well, looks like the best friend next door doesn't know everything after all, Felicia smirked as MJ blushed. Sorry, MJ apologized. Don't be, you were busy, I understand, it's fine, I shrugged. MJ looked released but Felicia just chuckled, oh no, it's fine, you're really in trouble now. What do you mean? MJ asked. When a guy says it's fine or don't worry about it, it actually means he's going to fucking lose his patience and wants you to shut up or get lost. It's basically their version of, well I suppose women says it's fine as well with the same meaning behind it. I blinked, huh, I never thought of it that way. Wait it's true. MJ shirked, so all those times you said it's fine or don't worry about it, you were actually pissed. Well, not all the time, I shrugged, sometimes I really just didn't care. Oh my god, MJ bleached, I've been a horrible friend. Hey don't worry about it, it's fine I mean, you can always do better later, I shrugged. You mean that? I don't see why not, I shrugged, anyway Felicia, tell me, why exactly are you so determined to make dash? A police siren cut me off. I turned and saw a large 16-wheeler truck off in the distance take a turn into the 278 highway with 4 police cruisers going after it in full speed. I felt something off, it was like there was going to be dangerous, I needed to help. I turned to the 2 beautiful girls I was with and sighed. I understand why Peter sometimes wished he could stop being a fucking hero all the time. Sorry ladies, but I need to cut this date short, I said. I really do need to go to my classes, I'll see you both tomorrow. Wait, you're seriously just going to leave? Felicia asked surprised. Yeah, my sensei is kind of a hard ass when it comes to discipline, don't want to piss her off, I lied. Well, okay I suppose, MJ didn't really feel like objecting. You do realize you're standing up 2 beautiful women right? Felicia raised an eyebrow. Yeah, and trust me, I feel horrible, I sighed walking away, I'll make it up to you both, I promise. Bite me Parker. Sure. Anything you want. I smiled back before running off. I ran a block away, After making sure they weren't in sight, I ran into an alleyway and took out my mask. One great thing about Halloween? I was already in costume. I put on my mask and web shooters, sticking my school backpack onto the wall with webbing. I jumped up and landed on the side of the building, crawling to the top. I jumped off the side and swung away towards the highway. I quickly spotted the truck on the highway. It was going towards a tunnel. I swung towards the other side and waited for it to arrive. The moment it did, I jumped on and clung to the sides with vigor, holding on for dear life as the truck's horn deafened my hearing. What is in this thing? I asked myself as I crawled slowly to the side, doing my best to not slip off. I could hear the police sirens in the back, and suddenly there was a loud horn. I snapped my head forward and saw the truck ram into a car, throwing off to the side. My eyes widened in horror. The man in the car was definitely dead. I swear I saw blood. I need to stop this guy, now. I crawled to the driver's seat and looked inside, seeing the driver holding his side as it bled out into his hands. I knocked on the door. The man turned and threw a punch, shattering the glass and clocking him across the jaw. His hands fell of the wheel and I grabbed it, holding it steady with one hand as I pushed the driver off the seat with my other. I crawled in through the broken window and put my foot on the brake, slowly bringing the truck to a halt on the middle of the highway. I put the handbrake, took out the keys and snapped them in half to make sure they could never be used again. I turned to the unconscious driver and sighed. Throwing him over my shoulder, I jumped out of the trunk and walked out. The police cars were stopped behind the car. The officers spotted me and quickly drew their weapons. Stop. Don't move or we will shoot. Relax, I'm one of the good guys, I called out. This guy's the driver, he's bleeding, will probably need medical attention and fast. The officers blinked in surprise as they noticed the man I was carrying. A man with blonde hair and a graying jacket stepped forward. Everyone lower your guns, there's no reason to get an itchy trigger finger. The policeman looked conflicted but slowly did so. I sighed. Thanks. I'm assuming you're in charge. The blonde man nodded. Yes, I'm Captain Stacy and you're Spider-Man. Yes. I paused. Stacy. As in Gwen Stacy's dad? Honestly, I'm no longer surprised. But if he's here, then where is, later, I'll deal with that later. Spider-Man? Stacy asked once more, raising an eyebrow at my silence. Alright, sorry, you remind me of someone I used to know, I told him. This guy need help, fast. The ambulance will take too long. Rogers, St. Matthews is right around the corner, drop him off and get back here, Stacy ordered one of his men. I gave the injured driver to an officer who struggled to lift the large man's weight, but eventually managed to put him in the back of his cruiser before speeding off. What happened here? I asked, turning to the captain. Where did they steal this thing? I don't have to tell you that, Stacy shot back. I appreciate what you're trying to do, kid, but this is police business, you have no place in it. Right. I blinked. I looked at them. They didn't look happy. I sighed. Fine, if you ever need me, shine a spider in the sky or something. I moved to leave when suddenly the truck started to shake. I stopped and every cop there drew their weapon. The truck's trailer began to shake from side to side and suddenly. Done. I saw a giant hole imprinted onto the trailer's door from the inside. Done. I gasped. Something was coming, and fast. I spun my webs, creating several concrete hard lines from the light posts on either sides of the highway. I really hope that can be used sometime. Everybody get down. I yelled as suddenly. Done. The doors were thrown off their hinges and flew over our head. My eyes widened in horror as a giant walking tank jumped down from the trailer, cracking the road. It was huge and gray, layered with tank armor, twin machine guns attached to its side, a missile launcher on its back and a horn the size of a man on its semi-humanoid body. I realized who this was, the Rhino, one of Peter's most popular foes. It looked the version seen in Amazing Spider-Man, and on its side I saw Hammer Tech spray painted in bold white letters. Fuck me, I gasped seeing the size of it. I heard its mechanics were into life as it turned towards me. The cockpit of the machine opened up, revealing a butch-looking man with a flat face, grinning like a madman. I am the Rhino. Don't get in my way. He got on all fours, the machine calibrating itself. He then kicked off, charging forward. I saw Stacy freeze in shock as Rhino charged right at him. Look out! I yelled, webbing Stacy and pulling him out of the way just in time as the Rhino tore through the police cruisers. I turned to Stacy, on his back. Are you okay? Why yes, thank you, he muttered. No problem. I looked around, no one else seemed injured. I saw the Rhino jump lanes, landing on the other side of the highway with a crash so loud I was afraid the highway was going to break down. It looks like he was trying to escape, damn him. I ran forward and jumped up onto a lamppost. I threw 2 web line and snagged them around the Rhino's torso. Suddenly I went flying forward as the Rhino jumped off the highway and into the streets below. I need to stop him. I pulled myself forward on the web line as he charged into the busy traffic-filled street. People yelled in fear as they jumped out of their cars and ran as the Rhino tossed them aside with his horn. Hey Gray Boy! I yelled, but he didn't respond. Couldn't he hear me? I landed on his back and crawled towards the cockpit, knocking on the glass. Hello? Anyone there? Get off! Rhino roared. Sorry, can't do that. I covered the glass with webbing in hopes of blinding him. Foolish boy, I can still see. He laughed, shaking his head. Luckily I held on tight. He must have cameras, I realized, looking around for a camera, and spotted 3. 1 below the horn and 2 on his shoulders. I quickly fried off 3 globs of webbing and covered them up. What did you do? Rhino roared. Just a little something I whipped up. I adjusted my webbing to its hardest setting and crawled to its underbelly, launching them at his legs, pinning the armor to the road. It tried to move, but the surprising resistance and the forward movement caused him to trip and fall down. I jumped away, quickly covering his arms and wrists with webbing, and just to be safe I also covered his gun nozzle and missiles as well. Time to finish this. I grabbed a sewer lid with my webbing and pulled it forward. I held it over my head and brought it down hard like a guillotine over the glass. Stop it, he roared, you're destroying everything. Not everything, just the suit, I growled as I brought it down again and again. The sewer lid was slowly bent inwards, but I could see cracks growing on the glass. It was tough, but soon it shattered. Ah, the man cried out, I think he got some glass in his eyes. I reached in and felt for a manual override. For a system like this there would have to be one in case the pilot got stuck inside. Finding a lever I pulled it on the back of the armor hist, opening up to reveal the leather coat wearing criminal inside. I grabbed him and pulled him out. I was right, the shattered glass had cut his cheek. I looked him over and growled, who the hell paid you? I don't know what you mean. You're not smart enough to steal tech like this, let alone use it? Who paid you? I don't know. I swear, the man cried out. You see this? I pointed at the sewer cover now bent in half and the shattered Rhino armor. That glass is supposed to handle a missile fire. I broke it and a bent sewer cover in half while doing so. What do you think I can do to you if I tried? I don't know. Please don't hurt me. I didn't do anything. You didn't do anything. I roared, turning him around. Look at what you did. Look at the people you hurt. A block of the city roads were destroyed. Car flipped over, people hurt. I wanted to help, but this man came first. I am sorry. I didn't mean dash. I'm giving you one chance, tell me everything, or I will make sure that every person here who you hurt will get a pound of your flesh to hang on their wall. And if I run out I'll use your bones. His name was Gentle, that's all I know. He told me his client wanted to hire me and my guys to steal a few things. He gave me everything. Cash, the truck, everything. He's the guy you want. I narrowed my eyes. Who hired him? He didn't say. He just told me the guy was powerful and smart. He got us things we have never even seen before. Tech so advanced it was like we were dealing with alien shit. I narrowed my eyes. Where is it now? In out hideout? I swear that's all I know. Please don't hurt me. I growled. Give me a location. He blabbered it out. I grabbed him by the collar and threw him into the air. I waited until the last moment to catch him with my webbing and strick him up like a fly caught in a spider's web. I quickly got of the Rhino armor and ran to the injured people. It hurts, a man pinned under a car cried out as people tried to lift it off him. Here, let me. I walked up to them and grabbed the car and lifted with my legs. Pull him out. Quick. Grab him. Someone said as the people pulled the pinned man out. I dropped the car with a huff. The man said his thanks, but I didn't respond, already on my way to another crisis. A car had been flipped over and set on fire. It looked like it was about to explode and people couldn't get near it to save the unconscious people trapped inside. I quickly threw my webs onto the flame, suffocating it. I then grabbed the car doors and ripped it off its hinges, grabbing the mother and son and pulling them to safety. It was longer to clean up the mess Rhino made than to actually stop him. It was so much easier to break than fix. People were hurt. The fight lasted for only a minute or so, but so many people were hurt. I did what I could, used my webbing to stop people from bleeding out, swung the really hurt ones to the nearest hospital, so on and so forth. I noticed several ambulances had arrived, but I didn't stop. There were still people to save. It took nearly an hour for everything to be handled properly. I helped where I could and soon I realized people were staring at me. They were snapping pictures, whispering. I even saw a few news stations pointing their cameras at me. Spidey. Can we have a word? A news reporter asked. Sorry, no time, I told her, swinging away quickly. I quickly grabbed my school bag and swung my way towards Manhattan. Their hideout was there. I found it quickly, found it hidden away in one corner, but it was easy to spot if you knew what to look for. I snuck in through the window and crawled in. It looked like a gang of raccoons lived here, covered with trash and pornos. I moved past all that though and looked inside, finding a room that was cleaner than the rest. It had a board with details of the heist put up. The truck to be used, what was to be stolen, the time and location of when to best make the heist. Everything. Sadly though didn't tell me why the suit was being stolen or for who. I took out a mini essay out of my pocket and enlarged it to scan the entire board in one go. Never know when these things might be useful. I then looked around and found a table filled with the most advanced weaponry I have ever seen. Night vision goggles, stun guns, and submachine guns. Magnetic shoes, laser cutters, there was even a decoder box, something used to open high-end safes. I figured the thieves had more tools on hand and these were just the ones they didn't use. I grabbed the night vision goggles and the decoder box. I can use the former when I'm going out in the dark and the latter could provide me with a clue. Sneaking out the way I came in, I swung towards the Baxter building and quickly went into my lab. I put the goggles aside and began to experiment on the decoder box, trying to figure out its programming and what made it tick. Just then Reed walked up in. He was surprised I was in costume but didn't comment on it. He looked at my table and blinked. Is that a decoder? I whistled. You figured that out with one look? Yes, what are you doing with it? Reed asked. Did you see the news? You mean you taking on that armored thief? Yes, I saw it. Sue was worried sick to be honest. Johnny however didn't seem to care, said you knew what you were doing. It looks impressive. I would love to get a good look at that thing. Its hydraulics are amazing, to allow something that heavy to jump so high. They're probably suing some sort of superposition liquid too. I stared at him blankly. He blushed and rubbed his neck. Sorry for nerding out there. Relax, I'm a nerd too in case you didn't notice, I smiled back, but yeah, the operator told me he was hired by someone. I found his hideout and took this. I tapped the decoder, apparently his employer gave it to them to use. I'm trying to see if I can find a clue about its production, something like this, bound to be expensive and noticeable. Reed hummed as he looked it over. I had taken it apart. He quickly put it back together and connected it to my desktop computer. He quickly accessed the root system and sorted out through tens of gigabytes, finally arriving at the factory production details. We schemed through the basic details when Reed spotted it. There, he pointed on the screen, stopping the flow of data. My eyes went wide. Holy shit. Staring at M in green letters were words I hoped I wouldn't see. Oscorp Industries. Fucking hell, I hissed, not him. Oscorp, huh? I didn't peg Norman Osborn for corporate espionage, Reed hummed. What do you mean? That suit they stole? It was Hammer's response to Stark's Iron Man suit. Needless to say, it wasn't anything great, but nobody knew that. Now since it's been exposed and stopped by some kid that shoots webs, the value for it to be a weapon of war just went down the drains. Hammer's stock is falling as we speak. If Osborn did do this, then, well, I suppose it's because he wanted to shame Hammer. I blinked. That makes sense, but without proof I can't do anything, I hummed. But why? What does he gain? Are Oscorp and Hammer Industries completing over some kind of military contract? I don't know, Reed shrugged. If they are, it's not public knowledge. But ever since Tony Stark became Iron Man, there has been a race in arms. People want the suit. Heck, the congressional meeting in Washington scheduled for a few days from now addresses directly that. Companies want the latest toys, and if they think someone is going to get it first, you can be sure as hell they'll do anything to stop them. I groaned. It made sense. Only question is, if Hammer was making the Rhino armor, what was Oscorp making? Flashes of a green suit and a glider flashed in my head. I really hope this doesn't mean Norman's going to go green anytime soon. I worked in the lab a little while longer before going home for the night. The next day at school, Spider-Man was once again the talk of the school. I sat down in my history class and noticed a few kids looking over Flash's shoulder at a video showing me fighting the Rhino. Flash cheered as I broke the cockpit open, pulling the man out. That's how it's done. You see that? That's a hero right there. He took him out in under a minute. Flash cheered. Yeah, he's pretty cool, Harry admitted with a grin. He broke into that guy's cage and threw him out. Did you see the way he pinned that thing to the ground? Flash sounded ecstatic. I smiled. Nice to know I have such a loyal fan. I took my seat and Flash quickly spotted me. Hey Parker. You see this? This is what a real hero looks like. Flash called out. I rolled my eyes. Yeah Flash, I know. Do you think he can take on Iron Man? Harry asked. He probably could, right? I don't think so, Kong shrugged. Are you stupid? Of course he can. Flash yelled out, he's the coolest guy ever. No, he can't, he won't. A second against Stark, Felicia spoke out. I looked at her and gave her a smile, one she returned with a grin. You're crazy Felicia, of course he can. Flash yelled out, Iron Man's cool and all, but take that off and what is he? Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist. I spoke the iconic Avenger line without thinking. It just felt so natural. Shut up Parker, Flash growled, he's a goddamn hero. Look at this. Tell me this doesn't make him a hero. Flash shoved the video into my face. He took that guy down in seconds. I shrugged. Impressive, but that doesn't make him a hero Flash. What? Peter, you literally dressed up like him yesterday. Harry looked confused, and now you're saying he isn't a hero. I never said he wasn't a hero, I just said stopping that thing doesn't make him one. I grabbed the phone and played the video past me fighting Rhino, to when I began helping the injured people. He fought that thing for what? A minute. That's great and all, but look at this, really look. The class watched the video of me helping people out, lighting the car and then moving on to pull people out of a burning car. You see this? He did this for over an hour. He saved so many lives. This is why he's a hero, not the big flashy stunts. Any glory-loving idiot can do that. But this is Spider-Man, and this is why he's a hero. I tossed Flash his phone and turned away. The others quickly went back into their own corners while Flash just stared at his phone in deep thought. That's pretty mature of you, Tiger, Felicia purred. I rolled my eyes. I think I prefer Muscles. No, Tiger is a much better nickname. I really need to thank Red for it. She turned around to spot MJ gossiping with Liz. When she stops acting like we don't exist. I shrugged. Visa 6, that is life. Sorry about yesterday, I didn't mean to cut our date short. It wasn't really a date, you do know that, right? Felicia smiled. Maybe one day it can be a real one then, I smiled as we got settled for class. The week was a slow one. I mostly spent my time dealing with homework and bad guys on the street. A couple of times I helped swing injured people to the hospital if the ambulance couldn't get there on time. I took extra care with people like that, oftentimes not even swinging on my webs. And on Friday I sat down with Ben and May and watched the Stark Expo live. The camera faced the stage and I saw the roof open up and Tony land in the center in full gear. He smiled, gave his speech, made his jokes. And just like that, Iron Man 2 had begun. Chapter 8, Making It to the Big Time. Monaco happened on Sunday. I saw Whiplash take on Tony and get knocked out. And I heard about the killer birthday party he threw for himself, even though it wasn't actually his birthday. He acted like a man who had a few days to live, since he didn't know otherwise. On Monday my homeroom told us the entire class would be going to the Stark Expo on Friday for a field trip. Everyone was happy. Me. I knew I was fucked. That entire school week I was a wreck. I spent most of my time in the Baxter building creating weapons I could use to subdue the drone army that I knew was going to be unleashed upon the people. I created an EMP gun so powerful it could fire their systems, a new batch of concrete webbing twice as strong as my last batch, and just in case I also had Johnny on speed dial. He didn't know why, but promised to come if I really needed him. On Friday I came to school wearing my black muscle shirt and tights under my normal high school attire. I had my Spider-Man jacket and web shooters inside a hidden compartment in my bag, just in case. Class went by as usual, and after school ended we all gathered into a school bus with Mr. Duncan, our English teacher, to set off for the expo. I sat next to Felicia. She looked at me and huffed, nervous. Yes, I didn't bother denying it, she was much too observant for that. Why? Because it's a Stark Expo. Have you seen what's happened to him lately? The guy's out of hand. I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the day the suits of armor became sentient and started attacking everyone. Damn Parker, that's dark, Flash laughed, and you said you weren't funny. There's no way that can happen. I rolled my eyes. Better safe than sorry, Flash. I felt my backpack, the weapons I made were there. Sue was really concerned I was using Baxter time to make weapons, but after explained to her what I was afraid of she was more understanding, though a little concerned about my paranoia. We reached the expo and got off. We got a guide to take up through the expo, each room at a time. And then we got to the main attraction. An exclusive press release by Hammer Tech in the Stark Expo main auditorium. We were seated near the back with the VIPs taking up the front few rows. I could almost feel the trap being laid out. I can imagine the drones coming out of the stage and killing so many people. I needed to do something. I got up from my seat and tried to sneak away. Yo Parker, Where do you think you're going? Flash asked, drawing everyone's attention to me. Bathroom, I replied. What? Hell no man, sit down. Do you want me to pee myself, Flash? I asked, not bothering about the embarrassing notions the line carried. Flash stammered. Peter, I really must insist you sit down, this is a very exclusive event, I don't think they'll even allow you to leave, the teacher told me as slowly I was forced to sit down. You aren't actually going to piss yourself, are you? Felicia asked. No, I grumbled. MJ sat down beside me. Hey, are you okay? You really don't sound too good. I'm fine, just nerves I guess, I shrugged. Alright, if you're sure. Soon the event began with Justice Hammer taking center stage. He gave a long-winded speech about how his dick was bigger than Tony's or something like that. And then, he introduced them, the Hammer drones. Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines, each unit had 8 drones. And then he brought out the War Machine unit. Everyone cheered at the patriotic activities, everyone, except me. And then suddenly, Iron Man came flying in and people lost their shit. They cheered for him. Tony was whispering something to Rhodes and suddenly all hell broke loose. Tony took to the skies and the Air Force drones along with the War Machine unit followed him. The glass ceiling shattered, raining glass on everyone. Get down! I yelled as I grabbed Felicia and MJ and pushed them down, covering them with my back. The glass rained down hard, I could hear people yelling pain. Luckily for me, my bag took the sharp edges into its stuffing. I got up and saw the rest of the drones slowly make their way down the platform and into the crowd. They didn't seem to be focused on killing people, that was good. But in their fight with Tony, people are bound to get hurt. I looked around, is everyone alright? I think so, Harry whispered. Mr. Duncan is hurt, someone cried out. I cursed, our teacher had gotten a shard of glass stuck into his back, he was on the ground writhing in pain. Liz was by his side holding him, tears running down her face. What happened? MJ was horrified. He tried to shield me. Liz was crying, he saved me. They looked broken, horried even. But now wasn't the time for this, I knew that. I turned to Flash, Flash, carry him. What? He asked, shocked. We need to get out of here, the drones are coming right at us. I pointed to the marching army of drones. People were already running away screaming, carry him on your back, now. But I dash. Flash. Please. Liz begged. Of course, he nodded as we carefully put him on Flash's back. I looked around, Tony was flying through the air, the drones following him. We need to hide, anywhere but outside, the drones are after Iron Man, not us, I told them, we move out and run away from the Expo, got it? Yeah, Harry agreed. As one we all took off, rushing out into the open air. I grabbed my phone and speed dials Johnny. In 2 rings he picked up, hello, what's up? I need you, now. Dude, I appreciate that, but I'm not dash. Not the time, Johnny. People are dying out here. I need you to flame up and get down to the Stark Expo now. Bring the others if you can, but don't let the slow you down. Quickly, Johnny. Right. Johnny hung up, I prayed my friend would get here on time. Who was that? Felicia asked as we ran down a flight of stairs. Back up, I whispered. I searched for a place to change, this was the perfect time to slip away and try and stop these things. But drone weren't my specialty, I couldn't break them before they riddled me with bullets. Sadly, Spider-Man can't help now. Suddenly a drone came flying out of the sky and landed in a ball of metal before us. The girls screamed as everyone jumped away. I stared at it, the arms were ripped apart, the wiring came undue and the internal working were seen clear as day. I quickly got an idea. I ran to the drone and grabbed its arm, ripping it free from the rest of it. "Peter! What are you doing?" MJ cried out. "Trying to save us," I told her as I analyzed the firing system and found the ones that dealt with firing the machine gun attached to its arm. I grinned. "Perfect. Parker! Get back!" Harry cried out as a drone landed next to me. I moved, lifting the broken arm I had on hand and pointed its gun at the drone. I hotwired the system, causing the machine gun to automatically fire, ripping the drone to shreds in seconds. Finally there was nothing left, the drone fell back, its head ripped clean off. I panted, throwing the now useless arm aside before walking back to the teenagers staring at me. "Let's go." They nodded as began to run away. More drones came out of the auditorium. They launched missiles at Tony, most however failed to reach him, instead falling down into the crowded people-covered street. "We have to stay away from them. Move to the sides," I yelled out. They listened and ran. But suddenly another squad of drones came out and intercepted us, standing before us like guards. My eyes widened as they looked down and the whirling of guns being loaded as heard. I opened my bag ready to pull out my web shooters, damn the consequences, when suddenly the drones were bathed in orange flames. "Hey Pete. Sorry I'm late," Johnny called out as he flew over the drones, lighting them all up. I looked up and grinned. "Not a problem, Johnny, light these tin cans up." "You got it?" Johnny grinned maniacally as he melted the metal on the drone's body, reducing them into liquid goo. I turned to Johnny, Sue and the others. "Are coming, but I won't hold my breath. I'm the only one who can fly and Ben doesn't fit in a car." "Fine, these guys are trying to get Stark but keep missing, their missiles hit the civilians instead. Think you can blow them up before they hit the ground?" "No idea, it'll be fun finding out," Johnny called out before flying off. I turned to my schoolmates and found them once again gaping at me. "What?" I lifted an eyebrow. "Dude. That was Johnny Storm," Flash exclaimed. "Yes, and you know Johnny Storm?" I shrugged. "He's a friend from work. Now do you want to keep talking, or do you want to save Mr. Duncan's life?" Flash gulped and quickly nodded. We ran around the melted drones towards the parking lot. People were rushing out of the expo. We were lucky to find out bus quickly. "So, you work with the Fantastic Four?" Felicia asked as we ran. "Not with Four," I replied, "and yeah, I do." "So that's the mysterious job you keep telling us about," Felicia realized. "Yup, so you get why I don't advertise it." We got into the bus and quickly put Mr. Duncan down near the back with Liz to watch over him. We got the driver to start the bus, but before we could start a drone came flying down from the sky, landing right in front of us. People were yelling in fear as the drone stood up and looked at us. "Move!" I yelled at the driver, going up to him and pressing down on the gas. The bus roared alive and charged at the drone, pinning him down to the ground as it began firing bullets out of its machine gun. "Don't stop!" I yelled at the driver. I opened the door and reached into my grab, taking out the EMP gun I built. The drone eventually managed to grab the bus by the bumper and shove it to the side. The bus skidded and I quickly jumped out and rolled away. The drone stood up and leveled its guns once again at the bus. I ran up to it just as it took aim. I leveled the gun at its head. "Hey Tin Man," it stopped and turned at me. "Die." I squeezed the trigger, causing a pulse of electrical energy to its system, short-circuiting it from the inside out. It started to jerk its limbs before suddenly dropping like a sack of potatoes. I was panting hard. I put the gun away and spat on the ground. "Fucking robotic piece of shit." I got back on the bus and looked around. "Is everyone okay?" They were staring. Again, I really didn't like this staring thing. Didn't they have anything better to do? "Why yeah, we're fine," Harry squeaked out. "All right," I nodded, turning to the driver. "Please get us out of this fucked up place." "Sure thing boss," he nodded, driving off into the road. As we left, I saw the drone I left behind explode into a giant fireball. Everyone gasped as we watched the Stark Expo turn into a visual representation of hell. I prayed that everyone in there was alright. I was really regretting not being able to be there as Spider-Man, but I knew Johnny and the others could handle it just fine on their own. I don't know about you guys, but I'm never going on another field trip again, I chuckled. They all looked at me like I was mad. What? Bad time. Felicia got up. You noble bastard, she jumped on me. Acting on instinct, I caught her by hips as her lips suddenly locked themselves over mine. Her fingers ran down my hair and her legs locked around me. I was beyond surprised but shrugged it off, wrapping my arms around her, pushing into her lips. She moaned, licking my lips to gain entry, attacking every corner of my mouth she could. Damn, I heard Flash whisper. Finally she broke the kiss and pulled back, a line of saliva bridging the distance between our lips. She was panting, emerald eyes looking deeply into my own. Damn. I agreed, damn. You're a good kisser. Thanks. Want to do it again? I nodded. Oh God, yes. I initiated it this time, holding her up with one hand while the other ran through her hair. I think everyone there was looking at us, but I honestly couldn't care less. She tasted like vanilla. I like vanilla. We drove to the hospital and got Mr. Duncan into the ER immediately. We were then all brought back to the school where we were surprised to find out families waiting for us. Everyone got down and quickly ran to them. I was the last and immediately I spotted May and Ben. Oh Peter. May cried out, grabbing me into a tight hug. Are you okay? Did you get hurt? Did anything happen? I'm fine, Aunt May, I promise, everything's fine, I assured her with a smile. You sure, Pete? Ben asked. I nodded. Yeah. We all got out safe. Only Mr. Duncan got hurt trying to save Liz's life. Guess field trips and I don't get along, huh? Peter. How can you make jokes about this? May gasped. Ben smiled. Let him be, May, you know that's how some people process things. May sighed but nodded. Let's go home, May sighed pleadingly. I nodded. I looked up at the sky and saw a fireball heading right for me. Actually, could you wait for a second? I need to talk to someone. What? Who? Ben asked. Slowly everyone turned and watched Johnny fly down and before me. He grinned. Hey, glad you're okay. Thanks. How's the expo? How many people got hurt? I asked, ignoring the people staring at me. Not many, I think maybe 1 or 2 got hit really bad by the drone self-destructing, but Ben managed to save them from the worst of it by shielding them. The others reached on time. I was surprised. Yup. Sue and Reed managed to stop the whole place from blowing up. I think they got like 50% of the drones offline before they exploded. Good, that's good, I nodded. I looked behind me. Ben and May were staring. I smiled. Johnny, this is my Uncle Ben and my Aunt May. Guys, this is Johnny Storm, part of the Fantastic Four, he's a friend. Johnny waved. Hey Aunt May, Uncle Ben. Nice to see you. Peter's told me a lot about you. You guys should really stop by sometime. We would love to have you over. Why yes, thank you, Ben responded while May couldn't bring herself to say anything. Johnny nodded before turning to me. Anyway, I just came to see if you made it all right. I have to go back and help with the cleanup. Can I do anything? I asked automatically. Yeah sure, we could always dash. No, I don't think it's a good thing, Peter, May said in a quiet voice. That's enough for today, let the police handle it. But dash, I wanted to argue, but one look at Ben and I decided against it. Right, sorry. Johnny chuckled. Well then I'll see you on Monday, Pete, take care. He then flamed on and took off into the air. I sighed and turned to my uncle and aunt. We moved to leave when Anna and MJ came up to us. "Anna dear," May smiled, "I'm glad to see Maryjane's alright." "Yes, she is, thank you for taking me with you, it would have taken much longer if I had to come by the bus. But apparently we have Peter here to thank for MJ's safe return," Anna exclaimed. May and Ben looked surprised. "What? He saved us, May," MJ whispered, "he saved all of us." Ben and May turned to me. I shrugged. "Great power, great responsibility." Ben gasped, "Peter, that isn't exactly what I meant." "No, that's exactly what you meant, and you know it," I told him. "I just scaled up the model a bit." "But how?" May asked. "He used a gun or something," Flash yelled out. I turned to him and glared, "Stupid blonde idiot." "A gun?" Ben yelled out. "It's not a gun," I said, sending Flash another hate-filled glare. I took out the EMP goo machine and presented it to them. "It's something I made at work. Sends an EMP strong enough to knock out the drones." "Peter, why did you even make such a thing?" Ben asked. "Simple, the last time Tony Stark did anything he was attacked by a madman with lighting whips. The time before that it was a guy in a suit of armor. I figured I shouldn't risk it, after all Hammer Tech was the one who designed the Rhino suit. I figured someone might try and pull something in the Expo tonight. So, EMP machine." They all looked at me like I grew a third head. "How could you possibly know this?" Liz asked. "I got a job working with Reed Richards, did you really think I'm an idiot?" I scoffed. "Well, I for one am impressed," I heard a familiar voice that sent a shiver down my spine. Norman walked up to me and smiled. "Peter, once again you've impressed me." "May I?" He's gestured to my EMP machine. I nodded and slowly gave it to him. He looked it over and raised an eyebrow. "I have the smartest minds on the planet working under me, though I'm not sure anyone could have built something so efficient. Truly impressive, Peter." Thanks," I gulped. "Excuse me, but who are you?" Ben asked, standing between me and Norman. Guess he noticed how scared I suddenly became. "Oh, I apologize, I'm Norman Osborn, Harry's father." He gestured to Harry, who stood a good distance away looking at the ground like he was being punished. Normally I wouldn't involve myself in my son's life, but, well, let's just say I'm glad I did. "You are Ben Parker, correct?" Ben blinked. "Yes." "Well, you have raised your nephew to be a fine man, Mr. Parker. I would offer him an internship at my company, but I don't think he would be interested." "Yes," he looked at me and smiled. I nodded. "Yeah, sorry." "Oh please, it's no fault of yours. It's mine for not recognizing the talent you hold. This is twice I owe you for protecting my son Peter. I don't forget my debts I owe. If you need anything, call." He gave me his card and walked away. "Come Harry, it's time for dinner." "Yes father." Harry bowed, he actually bowed, and followed Norman into a long black limo. "Well, that was something." Ben cleared his throat and turned to Anna. "Are you two ready?" "Oh yes," Anna nodded. "Come MJ, Peter, let's go home." I nodded. As we walked away though, I noticed Felicia talking to a woman dressed in a fine dress gown with a diamond necklace and long silver hair that matched hers. Felicia looked up and gave me a small smile. She waved goodbye before leaving with the woman, who I guess is her mother. We drove back home quickly. Guess Ben was anxious to put this day behind him. Ben pulled up onto the driveway and quickly we got out. MJ gave me a confused look I couldn't quite understand, but she didn't say a thing as she went home. I sighed. It was a long day, but it was done. I survived it and am now all the better for it. I doubt I'll still be called that skinny weird kid in school anymore, which is both a good thing and a bad. People will notice me now. I can't just sneak out or act weird. I need to be alert. Hopefully I can still be Spider-Man and Peter Parker. The next day was Saturday. After begging Aunt Man and Uncle Ben,
I finally got their permission to go and try and help out in the Stark Expo recovery efforts. I did go, but as Spider-Man. I swung into the scene and immediately people noticed me. I walked up to a fireman trying to lift up some rubble out of the way. Need some help with that? The fireman smiled, sure. Think you can handle it? Let's see. I grabbed the concrete and lifted it over my head. Yeah, I think I can. The man smiled. Quickly I became involved with the cleanup crew. I helped carry around the heavy stuff. If we managed to find something too hot to touch or dangerous to hold, I would use my webbing to insulate it. Soon though I wasn't alone, the FF arrived. Johnny flew in, Sue and Reed took Sue's car, a Land Rover, and Ben just kind of walked, which took him a lot longer to reach. They also began to help clear things out. Sue, Johnny and Ben helped carrying stuff around while Reed and I lent a hand whenever we could. Around mid-afternoon we had managed to clear everything up, and I was hungry as hell. My stomach growled loudly and the workers there left. We quickly got to eating. Johnny went out and got us takeout from a Chinese place down the road. We sat in around with the workers and ate. They didn't treat any one of us any differently, which was a great thing considering they were literally sitting next to a guy made out of rocks. So what's with the name? John, the manager of the cleanup crew asked. I blinked. Are you asking me? Yeah. Why Spider-Man? I shrugged. I got my powers from a genetically engineered spider. Hence, Spider-Man. Plus it goes with the whole theme I'm working on, shooting webs, climbing on walls, stuff like that. Can you communicate with spiders and stuff? One guy asked. No. So what about you? They asked Ben. What do you call yourself? Ben, he muttered. No, I mean like your superhero name. Oh, I suppose you can call me the Thing. Johnny does that sometimes. Ben shrugged uncaringly. We talked some more. The FF really made an impression on these guys and in the end I think Spider-Man got a few brownie points from the public. But there was another reason for me to do all this. Every time I found something interesting, like a part of a drone, a still intact arc reactor or anything I think I could use, I hide it away in the sewers. I tidy them up in a sack made from my hardest webbing fluid, should last for 24 hours. I went home at day and waited until nightfall to come back to the expo. It was empty, the people had all packed it in for the night. I was about to go in and get the items I stashed away when I saw a figure standing on a rooftop overlooking the destroyed expo. I recognized her immediately. I could know that silver hair anywhere. I landed on the roof behind her, startling her to my precise, "Hey cat, fancy seeing you here." "Spider," the black cat nodded, "what are you doing here?" "I was helping them clear out the wreckage in the morning. I left a few supplies behind." "And you?" I was here last night," Felicia admitted, sounding more scared than I have ever seen her before. "My friend and I, we almost died." "I'm sorry that happened," I apologized. "Where were you? Aren't you supposed to be a freaking hero or something? Isn't that what you always say?" "I'm a lowly thief and you're the gallant hero," she spat out. She was angry, I knew that, so I let her have that one. I was on the other side of the city helping where I could. By the time I heard what happened, I really regret not getting here on time. "So is that why you helped clean out the place?" "Because you felt guilty," the black cat all but demanded an answer. "No, not really. I can take the guilt. I did it because I knew it was the right thing to do. People needed help so I helped them. There isn't a deeper meaning for why I do the things I do, I just do." "Then you're a bigger fool than I thought," Felicia told me. "Sorry to disappoint you," I shrugged. Silence came down on us for a long time. I knew she had more to say, so I just waited, keeping silent. She finally did speak. "There's a guy who was with me. I didn't think much of him, he was interesting enough, but that day, he saved me. He saved all of us." I raised an eyebrow.
Was she talking about me? Oh yeah, she was. I coughed, so that's nice. He's the real hero, not you. I winced at her tone of voice but shrugged it off. Maybe, he is. What's he like? Kind, he tries to act aloof but I see right through him, she smiled. Right, you can totally see right through me, that's why you have no idea I'm standing right next to you. He's smart, like scary smart, I almost feel like sometimes I can't even hope to keep up with him. He's brave and loyal and, a great kisser. I smiled under the mask. Hey, if you like him so much why don't you ask him out? Cat looked me and smiled, maybe I will. Bye Spider, try not to be late next time the world needs saving. She left, jumping from roof to roof. I'll admit, for a girl with no superpowers she sure can run. I went down into the Expo to grab the stuff I hide away and swung back home, sneaking into the basement. Everyone was asleep, time to have some fun. I took a look at what I had. 2 forearms from a Navy drone and an Army drone, 2 arc reactors that have been shut off and 1 leg from a drone until I couldn't identify. It wasn't much, but it would be enough. I began first with the arc reactors. I needed to find out how they worked. I knew 2 things. 1, it was radioactive. I knew as much since Tony was dying from having it inside his body for so long. And the other, it can produce high amounts of energy. It took me all night, I think it was around 4 in the morning when I finally began to understand what Tony had built. The radioactive material would first break down and be spun around to collide into themselves. It means there are charged particles moving in a circle, contained by a magnetic field. High-energy particles usually have high energy because they're moving very fast, and magnetic fields can curve the motion of charged particles. Curving the particles' motion into a circle keeps them in one place long enough to get them to collide. This also produced gamma rays as a result of the molecules colliding and releasing a loose neutron. There was a complex radioactive decay going on inside the arc reactor itself, one that I was just starting to understand. This in the end increased the motion of the magnetic field, alternating it as the loose neutrons began to move around. This in turn caused the magnetic superconductive wire to generate high amount of alternating current. I finally put down the arc reactor and sighed, rubbing my head. I'm so glad it's Sunday because I'm exhausted. I hide the acquired items away. I could fit the arc reactors in the loose floorboard I used to hide stuff, but the others were too big. So I just shoved them into storage. Ben and May rarely come down here so it was relatively safe. I slept until noon and got up exhausted. I wanted to go back down to get back to work but when I did I found Anna and MJ sitting in the living room, chatting with May and Ben. Morning guys, how've you been? I asked yawning. So he finally stirs, Ben chuckled, morning champ, up late. Yeah, working on a new project, I admitted freely, hopefully I can get it to work. Peter, why don't you take MJ and talk to her for a while? Anna, Ben, and I have something to discuss. May oh so subtly pushed MJ my way. Right, come on MJ, I need to get something to eat, I grumbled walking to make myself some cereal. MJ sat next to me watching me munch down on my brunch. So you and Felicia huh? I shrugged, I don't know. You don't know? What do you mean you don't know? She just kissed me, I shrugged, didn't plan on it or anything. But you kissed her back. MJ yelled out. Our relatives looked at us, we lowered our heads and whispered. Yeah well, why wouldn't I? It's not like I have girls lining up to kiss me. I take what I can and besides, she's pretty cool, you think so too right? You still kissed her? Yes I did. Why? Did you want me to kiss you instead? MJ looked away pissed, she didn't say a thing. I sighed, sorry MJ, just teasing. It's fine, she shrugged. Just then my phone began to ring. I picked it up. Hello. Peter, it's me Marcus. Colleen-sensei is having another training session, you coming or what? I blinked. Wait, today? I didn't know. How much time do I have? Can you be here by 2? Yeah I can, but I looked at MJ and sighed, sorry I'm actually with a family friend. Rain check. Damn, sensei won't like this man. I know, tell her I'm sorry. I sighed, bye Marcus. Bye man, he hung up. Who was that? MJ asked. A friend from my dojo, he wanted me to come over for a training experiences, I told him I couldn't, I took the used bowl and washed it. You didn't have to do that for me, MJ whispered. I shrugged, don't worry about it. Anyway, want to go up to my room? MJ nodded, I guided her upstairs and closed the door behind me. She plopped down on my bed while I sat on my desk chair. So how's life? I asked her. It's weird to be honest. Friday was so freaking weird. I mean one moment we were on a perfectly ordinary school trip and the next. Do you want to talk about it? What's there to talk about? She asked with a shrug. Robots attacked us, Iron Man flew in and saved the day and you basically made sure everyone I knew didn't die and saved our lives. I didn't do much. Peter, you single-handedly took out a drone, and if you hadn't called in Johnny Storm, who you're buddies with by the way, then who knows how many people would have died. Face it Tiger, you're a hero. I chuckled, thanks MJ, I'm glad you think so. What do you mean I think so? I'm not the only one. I was on the phone with Liz all day yesterday, the whole school knows about you Peter. They all think you're a hero. Hell, I heard Liz mention half the cheerleaders like you now. I blinked, huh, well that's interesting. Yeah, she looked unsure of herself and I honestly felt bad. She wasn't a bad person per se, just a little childish. So MJ, are you going to audition for the school play? I heard they begin on Monday, right? MJ looked surprised, why you remember that? Of course I do silly, I'm still your friend right? Why yeah, right. So? Are you? I don't know Peter. Liz keeps telling me it's a bad idea and I'm not going to like it. It's supposed to be long and gruesome and dash. Of course it's a long and tiresome task MJ, it's not worth doing if it was easy. But that's no reason to give up. But Liz said dash. Liz doesn't know you, I don't think she bothered to even try, because if she did she would know how much you want this. So shut up about what Liz thinks and tell me what you think. MJ was silent, she looked hard-pressed for an answer before sighing, you're right. I know I am, I grinned. Careful Tiger, girls don't find an ego impressive, she snorted. I'll keep that in mind. It's just, MJ sighed, she wanted to focus on homecoming instead, said we barely have any time left to prepare. She and Flash are going together but I'm not sure I'm even going at all. I raised an eyebrow, holy shit, that's right, homecoming's this week. Damn, I actually forgot about that. Really? You did? Oh what am I saying, of course you did, MJ rolled her eyes. I'm surprised someone hasn't asked you out yet. Actually Harry did ask me out but, I'm not sure if I should go. Really? Osborn. Again. You do know they are all creepy little shits right? Harry might be decent enough, but his dad's totally up the walls fucked up. Really? How do you know so much about him? I used to be his BFF remember? I scoffed, his dad always gave me the creeps, now ever more so. Because he showed interest in you. Exactly. He saw me as a toy to add to his collection, nothing more. He treats people like toys to be added and I don't want Harry to think of you the same way. Peter he won't, he's not that bad. I shrugged, so you say, anyway, are you going to accept or what? MJ shrugged, I don't really know.
Alright, tell you what, if you want I'll take you to homecoming, only if Harry's too much of a pain to deal with. What do you say? What about Felicia? I don't know. That girl's complicated. I doubt she actually likes me, let alone wants to go to homecoming with me, or rather I know she has a thing for me, but I can't act on it unless she admits it. Stubborn cat. Of course she likes you, Peter, why else would she make out with you? I chuckled, because she was turned on by what I did. Honestly, I really doubt she's into the whole serious romance angle, and I highly doubt she wants to go to some dance. So, what do you say? Want to go to homecoming with me? MJ blinked. Tell you what, you talk to Felicia and I'll talk to Harry. If neither of our dates are like we want them, then we'll go together. Deal? I grinned. Deal. Now, what exactly are you going to do about the play? Do you have lines to do? Well, they are doing Midsummer Night's Dream this year and I really want to play Helena. MJ smiled. The girl who loves a man that has no interest in her? Damn Maryjane, subtle you are not. I shrugged. Okay, do you want to practice? Really? Sure, I'll just download a PDF onto my phone and we can get started. MJ was happy at my offer. She began slowly. She took a while to get into the role, but I encouraged her to keep going. Soon it became dark outside, but Anna didn't seem to mind MJ staying over. We worked on her script until dinner, where MJ joined me, Ben and May. It was honestly a nice Sunday. I got to kick back and relax for a while, something I haven't done in a long time. MJ and I were a lot closer now. It was nice to have my friend back. And I wasn't lying about Felicia. I really didn't know the first thing that was on her mind. Later in the night I returned back to my basement and worked on the arc reactor some more until I was sure I could reproduce it, or at the very least understand it. I soon got bored though, so instead I took out the drone leg I had in storage. I began dissecting the thrusters, finding out how they worked. I began to understand the design, which I'll admit was ingenious. It used concentrated muon particles, an elementary particle similar to electrons but with a much denser mass. They could be adjusted to increase its density or decrease it, allowing for flight or as a physical weapon. The repulsor technology was amazing to study. I swear, this was a copy of Tony's tech and I was already learning so much about it. Imagine what I could do with the real thing. It got late pretty quickly for me and I decided to call it a night. Putting the drone leg away, I went back to bed exhausted. I walked in, yawned, removing my shirt and got ready for bed, but just then I heard a low whistle. Impressive, Mr. Parker. For a skinny guy you sure are packing. I moved on reflex, jumping towards the voice with a kick aimed at his chest. He grabbed my leg but wasn't able to stop the force behind the kick to push him up against the wall. I grabbed a stapler and charged the man, pinning him against the wall by the throat with the stapler pressed against his bald head. I looked at the man properly for the first time and realized he was back and was wearing an eye patch. I blinked. I recognized the man immediately. Nick fucking Fury, head of S.H.I.E.L.D. Oh, I have done fucked up. Very impressive, he chuckled. Mind losing up? I can't breathe. I lost my grip slowly. I needed to play dumb. He's the greatest spy on the planet. No high school kid had no business knowing he existed, let alone know his name. Who are you? How did you get in here? I growled. My name is Nick Fury, I'm the head of S.H.I.E.L.D. I raised an eyebrow. You're supposed to be a spy. Exactly. Then why are you in my bedroom? I growled, pressing the stapler against her cheek. Are you seriously going to threaten me with a stapler? I can pin a staple into your eyeball, how about that? No, I don't think you will. I heard the click of a gun and I felt something cold and metallic stuck between my ribs. I looked down. I didn't notice him draw his gun. Fuck, rookie mistake. Now, can we talk like civilized people? You don't get to trespass into my house and then preach about civility, pal. I growled, but slowly backed away, my eyes never leaving the gun. My spider senses weren't tingling, so I knew he wouldn't hurt me, but better safe than sorry. Now then, I'm here to talk to you about the Avengers initiative. Fury smiled. I kept my facial expression under control, though on the inside was I shocked and surprised all at the same time. Avenger? Me? Holy shit. What's an Avenger? I asked, doing my best to seem dumb. It's task force I'm assembling together that will take on the threats that are beyond the limits of ordinary men and women. And why would you want a teenager like me to join your secret club? I asked, fearing the answer I knew he was going to give. Come now, Peter, are we seriously going to pretend like you're still just an ordinary kid? Fury raised an eyebrow. Wow, he is really good at doing that. I have no idea what you're talking about. Sure you don't, Peter, or should I say, Spider-Man, Nick smirked as I looked horrified. You are crazy, man, get out of here before I call the cops, I hissed. I knew resistance was futile, but I had to try, right? You do that, and I'll tell them about how you constantly break the law, trespassing and acting as a vigilante. With what proof? We have video of you changing into your costume and have several images of you deadlifting steel beam in that abandoned train yard you like to visit. I raised an eyebrow. Wow, I didn't know S.H.I.E.L.D had that many cameras in Queens, unless you hacked the cameras and obtained the so-called evidence illegally, which would be inadmissible in court. Fury smiled. You're smart, kid, I like that. And you're right, we can't actually throw you in jail, but taking you into trial will reveal your secret to the world. Do you really want that? I growled. So that's how it is, huh? Join you or you'll tell everyone I'm some kind of superhero. Blackmail, thy name is Fury. You're honestly not giving me a lot of choice here, kid, Fury admitted. If you join us though, I promise you won't regret it. We can give you the state-of-the-art training and tech. We can train you to be better, smarter, the ultimate Spider-Man. I knew the offer. I had already expected Fury to pull this card on me sooner or later. He was applying to the poor kid inside of me that had no friends, that was desperate for recognition. Sadly for him, I wasn't that kind of Peter Parker anymore. Tempting offer, but I'll pass. I already have everything I need. Learning hand-to-hand combat from a dojo in Chinatown won't do you any favors, kid. We can train you with the best, people who are the best at what they do. And in return? I raised an eyebrow. In return? In return you work for us, we'll give you mission, assignments you'll have to carry out. People I'll have to kill. I raised an eyebrow. We don't do that. Then? What do you do? Infiltrate drug rings, terrorist organizations, find and contain threats to national security, Fury explained. Sorry, Fury, but I don't really have time to be an international spy. I have a job and family to take care of. Most importantly, I have a city to protect. You think you're the only superhero in tights crawling around? Every day I hear about someone new out in the night trying to fight the good fight. The kid survived before you came, kid, it can survive without you. I raised an eyebrow. And school? And my job? We both know your hours at the Baxter building are flimsy at best. And well, I'm sure we can find ways for you to switch between work and school. You won't miss prom or anything like that. I was silent for a long time. I need to push him. I wanted to see what he did when he got mad in order to understand what type of man I was dealing with. Tell me, Fury, do you have any other child soldiers working for you? Or am I the only one? A dark scowl came over his face. You think I do this because I want to, kid? If I had my way, you wouldn't even be near the field. But you got too big too fast. People are starting to take note of you, and if you continue the way you are, people will come after you and hard. I'm giving you the option of less evil. I suggest you take it. I was silent for a long time. I finally spoke it. Can I have some time to decide? Yes, you have a week. Fury took out a folder and placed it on my desk. Here, everything you need to know about what I'm offering you. Good night, Peter. He walked out my door and I didn't see him return. I have no idea how he did that, but I couldn't even hear his footsteps. I let out a gasp I didn't know I was holding. I looked around, my entire room could be bugged. No, fuck that, my entire house. I grabbed the EMP gun I had and switched up the settings and connected it to my phone. I began to scan the room for bugs using the micro-transmitter in the EMP and quickly found 5. I switched the EMP pulse into a short-range burst and quickly took them all out. I then went up and down the house 3 times over, finding a total of 25 bugs put in place. I took great pleasure in destroying each one and gathering them into a paper bag. I dumped the bag on my front porch with a note that read, "Bug my house again and I'll fucking shove them up your ass, fury." I walked back inside my house and to my room. I looked down at the porch and found the bag gone. Good, I hope they learned their lesson. I picked up the file and gave it a once mover, pretty basic stuff. I couldn't get into the detail though, I was too damn tired. Things have been moving so fast I couldn't even begin to understand everything that was happening to me. I laid down in my bed and prayed for a quick sleep, I so was not looking to deal with this bullshit in the morning. Chapter 9, An Electric Dance. Monday morning was pain in the ass for me. First it was difficult to get up, and then I realized I had school and third I was currently being recruited by S.H.I.E.L.D. Yeah, not a great day to be me. Fucking hell man, all this and it wasn't even morning yet. I scanned the folder Fury gave me into my personal essay and read the document page by page on my way to school. Basically his offer was this: we train you, you serve us. They would allow me to specify what I wanted to be trained in: technology, fighting styles, tactics and other types of skills. I would be personally trained by an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and when I was deemed ready they would send me out on missions. I honestly didn't see a single reason to refuse his offer. To be honest, patrolling the streets every night is started to get tiring and repetitive. I can be doing so much more good with my time. I could have my own side projects, sure, but otherwise I would be helping S.H.I.E.L.D. keep the world safe. I did know there were some disadvantages, like the fact that S.H.I.E.L.D. was actually Hydra, patiently waiting for its time to strike. I knew that, but still, for now being an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. had only advantages to offer me. I would have to stop going to the Shikara dojo, my time with the FF might be stretched thin but that was never a problem. I wouldn't be able to continue to be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, instead going international. But, maybe I can talk to Fury about that. I walked into school, going through terms I should be aware of, like death, danger, or circumstances. Need to know what I'm in for before signing with the devil. I walked into first period English and noticed people were once again staring at me, like usual. I sat down in my desk and quickly turned off the essay. Don't want some kid snooping through classified S.H.I.E.L.D. documents now, do I? Yo Parker, what's that you got there? Flash asked. It's a scan and adapt, I told him, not bothering to turn around. What does it do? Flash asked. It scans and adapts any document into a digital form, I told him. Ah, nice, where did you get it? I made it, I told him. You made it? Harry repeated, looking at the essay in a new light. Damn, that's pretty cool. Thanks Harry, I told him, trying my best to ignore their oh so subtle attempts to start a conversation with me. So Parker, going to the homecoming dance this Friday? Or are you too cool for that? Flash, as I quickly found myself surrounded by the popular kids, something I found extremely infuriating. I haven't decided yet, my reply was short. Please take the hint, Flash. Oh, you're probably going to take Felicia, right? I mean, after that kiss she gave you, she has to be interested. I shrugged. Maybe. Damn Parker, lighten up. Man, if I had a girl like that I wouldn't spend a second away from her. Flash grinned. You do have a girl like that, Flash, she's right there and she's glaring at you. I pointed at Liz, who looked like she was going to blow a gasket.
well I dash. He's got you there Flash, Harry joked, causing everyone else to laugh. Great, fucking groupies, just what I need. Move it, I heard Felicia spit out like venom as she pushed past the gathered guys and sit down next to me. She glared at all of them and then settled on me, giving me a small nod with eye matched. Anyway Peter, you should totally come, we're all going to be there. Flash is going with Liz, maybe. Harry looked at the large blonde boy getting yelled at by his girlfriend, and I'm going with MJ. It's going to be so much fun, man. I raised an eyebrow at the last comment. I turned to MJ and met her gaze. I motioned to Harry and she rubbed her head and gave a small nod. I raised an eyebrow. It was hard to imagine Harry acting nicely to her, but hey, stranger things have happened. I'll think about it, I told him. So Hardy, you going to the homecoming dance? Harry asked, leaning on her desk, wiggling his eyebrows at her. Felicia glared at him with an unimpressed gaze. 1. Get your ass off my table, and 2. What I'm going to do is no business of yours, Osborn. Okay sheesh, sorry I asked. Harry got up. Anyway, I'll catch you later Pete. He waved and walked away, taking the others with him. I sighed in relief. Can you believe that guy? What did you expect? You became the school hero practically overnight. Everyone's talking about what you did, Felicia told him. Are they now? Damn, I whistled. By the way, what are your plans for homecoming? Why do you ask? Felicia smiled coyly. Well, because I was going to ask you out for the dance. I smiled at her. The platinum-haired girl smiled as she curled a stray strand of hair behind her ear. Well, if you're asking then, yeah, why not? My smile grew that much larger. Sweet. Do you want to go to dinner first? Sure, you can finally give me that date you promised me, Felicia wicked. I smiled at her. I was about to speak when a woman walked into class holding a book and wearing a black pencil skirt and blue blouse. Her hair was red and curly and her figure was out of this world. I swear she was a fucking model, I assured if I didn't immediately recognize her. Natasha Romanoff, the Black Widow. She was in my class. She was looking at us all, her eyes staying on me a fraction of a second longer. She was sent here to spy on me. Fuck. Good morning class. My name is Ms. Natasha Randall. I'll be your substitute English teacher until Mr. Dunkar has made a full recovery, she smiled. The other boys grinned perversely. Harry even gave Flash a fist bump. And while I was a little excited to have a hot babe teaching me, I was even more scared due to the fact I knew exactly who I was dealing with. The class was over quickly and I have to admit Natasha knew what she was talking about. The explanations of English literature were deep and meaningful, almost makes me think she wasn't a secret assassin from Russia that can kill everyone in this room without blinking an eye. And at the end of the class the boys were grumbling at having to leave. Everyone slowly waked out, but I remained behind. Felicia looked at me and asked if I was leaving. I told her I needed to talk to our new teacher. She gave me a strange look before leaving. Thank God the girl knew to respect one's privacy. Natasha noticed I was standing behind and smiled. Mr. Parker, right? How can I help you? I thought Fury was going to give me some time to think about it. I cut straight to the point. Natasha blinked. I'm sorry, who? I'm afraid I don't understand. Who is this Fury? I rolled my eyes. Really? I'm not stupid, you know. A new teacher arriving this quickly to fill in a job position 2 days after the last one got sent to the hospital? This school isn't that effective. I knew this for a fact. This had happened before once. The teacher got sick and Peter had the entire week free before they could find a substitute. Well, you see, I was already applying for a job when Mr. Dunkar had his accident. It really was luck dash. I threw a punch at her face. Natasha's eyes went wide as she reacted on instinct and dodged it, grabbing my arm and throwing me over her shoulder into the ground. I really hate that move. I looked up at her and smiled. You're pretty fast for a teacher. Natasha hissed. The mask of a high school teacher dropped, revealing a cold hard stare underneath. Fury said you were quick. I didn't expect you to be this quick. Thanks, it's a fucking gift. Now I suggest you get off me before someone arrives and thinks you're trying to sleep with a student on the first day. I smirked. I saw the corner of her mouth twitch. Guess she found me funny. We got to our feet and I patted my coat. I looked over the deal. It's okay. I do have some requests. And I want to be able to protect the city. I understand I'll be needed elsewhere on mission, but every time this place is in danger I want the chance to protect it. I won't endanger a mission and go running off like a madman if that's what you're thinking, but I won't leave it unprotected. Natasha nodded. Reasonable. Anything else? Yes, I like inventing stuff. Can Fury give me the funding to make my own toys? And if I do, will they be mine of property of S.H.I.E.L.D's? You'll have to talk to Fury on that one, but I'll relay your requests to him. Natasha nodded before suddenly smiling. Now then, Mr. Parker, if that's all, you better get to your next class. Just then the door opened and her next batch of students walked in. Damn, how did she know? I wished her a good day and quickly walked out. I felt like I was being watched all day, and mostly likely I was. I didn't notice any cameras though, so maybe it was all my imagination. At lunch I found Felicia sitting alone in one corner, so I decided to drop by. Hey Felicia, I smiled as I sat down next to her. Hey Tiger, she purred at my nickname. You know, I think you've earned the right to give me a nickname by now. Really? Well, any requests? You decided, she shrugged, going back to her salad. How about, I looked at her fork and saw a picture of a black cat on its handle. Typical. Kitten. Felicia stopped and turned to me in surprise. Why did you call me that? The cat on your fork. I pointed at the fork she was using. I figured you kind of like a cat. Aloof, smart, and like totally graceful. So I figured, why not, right? Kitten. I said her nickname in a husky voice. Damn you, Parker, she hissed. What's the matter, kitten? Don't like it? No. It's fine, she grumbled, going back to her meal. I laughed. I must have nearly given her a heart attack when I called her that. After school, Felicia, MJ, and I sat down for our hourly study session. We did get some work done before the girls began talking about homecoming, about what to wear and what colors matched. Felicia and MJ shared a love for fashion, though Felicia wasn't too bothered about the brand names but rather how they felt and looked. After that I went to the Shikara dojo for what I felt would be the last time. I told Colleen at the end of the cast that I might be forced to stop coming, and she looked sad. Peter, you are one of my best students, you learned more in the short time here than I did. Are you sure you can't continue? No sensei, I'm sorry but I can't. Why? I told you sensei, I got a job and right now my family needs the cash. I'm sorry it's come to this but I have to put them first. I only half lied, I really was doing this for the betterment of others. I promise sensei, I won't ever forget what you have taught me. If I can I'll stop by whenever I can, but I'm sorry to say this is goodbye for now. Well, that certain is unfortunate, came a male voice from the door. We both turned and found a middle-aged man standing by the door with a smile on his face. He wore a suit and had a trimmed beard with curly combed hair. Immediately I recognized him. Master Bakuto. Colleen smiled as she bowed. This is a surprise, Master. Yes, I was in the neighborhood and I thought I should drop by. He turned to me, and this is Peter Parker. He's one of my best students, but unfortunately he has to leave, Colleen said, giving me a very sad look. Really? What is that, Mr. Parker? Bakuto asked me with a gentle smile. I paused. Oh my god, it's him. It's one of the top members of the fucking hand. And he's right in front of me. Fuck. I remained calm, gulping. I just need to focus on my family right now. They need the cash.
You know, for college and stuff. Well, if that's the case, I'm sure my organization would be happy to grant you a scholarship for further education, granted you perform well here. I blinked. What? Sensei Bakuto here runs a very wealthy non-profit organization, Colleen explained with an excited smile. He usually takes my best students and offers them a scholarship, the full ride. And if you are as impressive as Colleen says you are, then I'm sure you'll be able to get it, the man smiled. Yeah, smile all you want, buddy, but I know for a fucking fact that you just want to turn me into a mindless drone. Thanks, but I don't think that would be fair. I met his glare and gulped. It's just people like Marcus and all need the scholarship. I just need some cash on hand, that's all. Please, don't worry about it, I'll be fine. You are doing a disservice to your talent, Mr. Parker, Bakuto told me. It would be a shame for your talent to go to waste. I would rather that than have my family sacrifice everything to make me happy, I shot back with a glare of my own. I'm sorry, goodbye. I walked out. Colleen called out for me to wait, but I didn't listen. I ran out of there as soon as I could. This was for the best. The last thing I needed was the hand gaining an interest in me. They would be ruthless in killing me if they even suspected I knew anything. I need to get away. I walked into the Baxter building and sighed. Hey guys. I'm back. Is anyone here? In here, Pete. I heard Johnny call out. I was surprised to hear laughter coming from inside the den. I quickly walked in and was shocked to find May and Ben sitting in the living room with the FF. Oh hey Peter. How was school? Sue asked with a smirk. Ah, fine. I blinked looking at May and Ben. What are you guys doing here? Well, we figured it was time we looked into this place you spend so much of your time at, Ben replied, and I have to say, Peter, you couldn't have picked a better place. Oh, thanks Uncle Ben, Johnny smirked. Hey. Don't call him that. He's not your uncle. I grumbled. Now Peter, that's no way to talk to your colleges. I expect you to treat them with respect, May scolded. I blinked. Ah, okay, but you don't mean Johnny, right? Of course. Him too. Ha. You best respect me, Peter. Or else I'll tell your aunt. Johnny laughed. I'm going to douse you in kerosene storm, I growled as he simply shrugged it off. Would you like some more tea? Ben asked as he gently poured himself a cup. Oh thank you Ben, that would be lovely, May smiled. Well May, I think it's time to leave, don't you? Uncle Ben asked. I'm sure Peter will feel embraced the longer we stay. Oh don't be silly dear, I'm sure he doesn't mind, May shrugged. Reed smiled. No, he doesn't mind at all, don't you Pete? Et2 Reed. I gasped. Reed and the others chuckled as I sat down with my aunt and uncle and we all spoke in general. Soon they packed up and left, leaving me alone with the FF. I let my smile drop and grew serious. I need to talk to you guys about something, I told them. It sounds serious, are you okay? Sue asked. Is about your other job? I nodded, kind of. I was approached by a secret organization who knew who I was. They offered me a job. Reed grew curious. Who? S.H.I.E.L.D, I sighed. Reed sighed. Crap. Sue matched him. This isn't good, not one bit. Who are they? I just know the basics. Big spy agency, has a lot of toys and cash to throw around, I asked. S.H.I.E.L.D, or the Strategic Homeland Intervention Enforcement and Logistics Division, Sue explained. You're right when you said they were spies, but they are much more than that. They have their fingers in every pie. They are the gatekeepers between the world and those that seek to do it harm. Or at least that's how our father always used to describe them. They aren't the sort you want on your tail. They have the resources and the people to take down small armies and topple governments, Reed continued. What exactly did they say to you? I sighed and told them Fury's offer. I showed Sue Fury's proposal stored on my essay and she began to look it over carefully. So are you going to accept? Johnny asked. Honestly? I don't think I have much of a choice. It was stupid to think I wouldn't be noticed. I'm just glad I'm getting a say in my fate, I sighed and admitted. I say take it, Ben's gravelly voice spoke up, it's the best deal you're going to get, webhead. The training will keep you alive, and I'm sure if this Fury guy thinks you're a valuable asset he won't try and get on your bad side. And from what I'm seeing this deal's pretty ironclad, Sue murmured, you probably won't be cheated out of your training or anything. So it's basically a win-win situation? I asked. Reed nodded, basically, yes. If I join, I'm not going to have much time for you guys, or friends, I sighed. We always were flexible with timing, Peter, you don't have to worry on that front, Reed assured him. And what friends? Weren't you supposed to be like a cool loner dude? Johnny asked. I was, but, well, after the Expo people are kidding of amazed I know you guys. I'm basically a celebrity in their eyes, I shrugged. Oh, that's great, Peter. You can never have too many friends. Sue smiled. Yeah, but they don't act like friends, more like groupies, I shivered, but there is this girl and, well, she's nice. A girl, huh? Yeah, that'll do it, Ben chuckled. Girl. Johnny's interest was piqued, tell me about her. I rolled my eyes, no. What? Why not, he whined. Because the moment I do you'll look for her profile on Facebook and perv on her, I snorted. No I won't, by the way, are you on Facebook? Johnny asked, his phone already on hand. No, waste of time, I shrugged. Same here, Reed sighed. We quickly talked a little while longer on what I should do before we went to our own labs for our side projects. Later in the evening Sue did call me over and talk to me about getting the SA patent. She told me her lawyers were already working on and we were in talks with Amazon to build them for public consumption. I would get a 50% ownership of the patent, the other going to the Baxter Foundation. I would also get 5% of every SA ever sold, earning me a steady stream of revenue in some time. Yup, things were looking up for little old me. The next day I arrived in class to find everyone glued to Flash's phone once more. This time they were looking at the news live. I peered over his shoulder and was surprised to find the man on trial was the operator of the Rhino, one Alexei Saitsevic, or AL for short. We watched as the man was sentenced to 5 years in prison for theft and public endangerment. He was just luck no one had died, or else it would have been 20 years. I honestly didn't care though, I knew some way or another he was going to come back and haunt me again and I would have to be ready. I spent the rest of the week either in school, at the Baxter building working on something new, or swinging through New York as Spider-Man. The streets were quiet for a while, only a couple of muggings in the worst part of town and one stab victim that I had to rush into the hospital. But one thing was looming in the distance, homecoming. I don't understand how a silly high school dance could affect me so badly, but boy was I nervous. Felicia seemed to have noticed. She took every chance she had to tease me for it. Always going on and on about how it should be a perfect night, or else. So I actually started to try and make it a good night. I got a suit from Uncle Ben. I didn't bother with his firmly undershirt, 280s. But I did use his blue suit and wore my black shirt under it. It gave off the very hip and cool feel to the suit, which was nice. I also managed to get reservations to a restaurant in the fancy part of town. I knew I would end up spending half my allowance on that dinner, but it seemed to be worth it. After all, why go out if you don't do it with a bang? Harry and Flash kept bothering me all week, asking if I wanted to join up with their dates and go together. I politely told them no, and when they insisted I told them to fuck off. And so it was all set. On Friday evening, an hour before we were meant to meet up, I called up Felicia as I was getting ready. Hey kitty. Hey tiger, was her reply. You all set for tonight? I asked her. You bet I am, we're meeting up at Julio's, right? Yup,
I'll see you soon, alright. See you soon, Tiger, she said huskily as I cut the call. I got ready, put on the suit, and went down. There he is. Ben smiled, don't you look handsome? I grinned, thanks Uncle Ben. Hey, could you help me with the tie? It's really bugging me, I asked him. Sure, no problem kiddo, Ben smiled as he helped me out. Oh, I wish you and your lovely date decided to meet up here instead, May sighed. What was her name again? Felicity. Felicia and May, I rolled my eyes, and besides, she isn't the photo type. Oh nonsense, what type of girl isn't the photo type? I swear Peter, you picked the oddest girls. You should have just stuck with Maryjane. I shrugged, she's going out with Harry, besides I don't think she and I would work out, she's in a very different place, I can't handle all that. Well, doesn't that just sound like a trumped up excuse? May huffed just as the door was opened and May exclaimed, why MJ dear, you look lovely. I blinked in surprise, I turned around and gasped when I saw MJ standing there all dressed up. She wore a black dress that came down till her mid-thighs that hugged her curves. The top half near the shoulders and arms were transparent, and with her makeup done I had no doubt that this woman is the same one who would one day become a supermodel. I smiled, damn MJ, I think this is the first time I'm ever going to feel jealous of Harry. MJ smiled, thanks Tiger, you don't look half bad yourself. Thank you very much, I grinned. Oh, this is perfect, come you two, let's take a picture. May smiled, already grabbing her camera. May, she isn't my date, I looked confused. Oh, what does that matter? Come on you two. Up close. May said excitedly as Ben just stood to her side and shook his head in disbelief and a small smile. I turned to MJ, who shrugged. We stood together, my arm around her hip and hers immediately going for my shoulder. It just felt so natural. May took a few photos, too many for my liking, before she let us go. So what's up? I figured you would be waiting for Harry and the others, I asked her. I am, they aren't coming till another half an hour though, so I thought I should see how you were doing, MJ replied with a shrug. I shrugged, I'm okay, I'm meeting up with Felicia for dinner soon. Oh, well, good luck I guess. Where are you going? Julio's, I smiled. MJ whistled, damn Tiger, you're pulling out all the stops tonight aren't you? Yup, I shrugged, anyway I think I should get going, don't want to keep her waiting. You're going to meet up at the restaurant? MJ asked in surprise. Yeah, I think she's embarrassed of her mom or something, didn't even want me to pick her up in a cab or anything, I shrugged. Well, alright I guess, MJ smiled, good luck Peter, I hope you have a great time. I smiled and pressed a chaste kiss on her cheek. MJ seemed to go into a state of shock at the kiss, I winked at her and quickly walked out the door. I hailed a cab and quickly got in. I texted Felicia I would be seeing her soon and sighed as the cab slowly drove through traffic. I was carrying with me a corsage, I didn't know the breed of the flower but it was white, similar to Felicia's hair. I also checked the hidden pockets of my jacket, feeling my web shooters inside. I wasn't an idiot, it was times like this when nothing could go wrong that everything can go wrong. There was a 50% chance I would have to swing away as Spider-Man today, and so just in case I brought my web shooters and my mask. I didn't have my leather jacket, but I was wearing my black muscle shirt under my suit along with the black leggings. I really hope I won't have a need for them, but again, I was no fool. I arrived in the restaurant 10 minutes early and quickly went up to the top floor of the fancy hotel and took my seat. It was a two-person table near the window overlooking the city below. The restaurant was fancy, I could see a few other kids from my school in there with their own dates, they waved at me and I politely waved back. I waited and waited, drinking 3 glasses of water and used the bathroom twice. She was 20 minutes late and starting to test my patience. I grew fed up and took up the phone and called her. "Peter, I'm sorry but something's come up," she said with bated breath. "Really? Something came up? What?" I was skeptical. Did she just not want to go out with me? Why can't she just say that? "Yes, I'm really sorry but dash." Boom. An explosion rocked out from the other side of the phone and from outside the window. I looked out and saw an thunderbolt launched into the air, tendrils of electricity sparking around all over the place. "Felicia? Felicia, are you okay?" I roared. "Please tell me she's not stuck in the middle of that." It took a while before she answered, I'm fine. "Something's here. It's attacking everyone. Stay right there. Stay hidden. I'll get help." I threw a 20 onto the table and ran out of the restaurant. I quickly dialed Johnny up, but got no answer. Was I out of range? Or, the electricity, it was jamming all radio waves? I ran to the roof and took out my web shooters. I stripped down to my uniform hidden underneath and webbed up suit and shoes into a bag before throwing them against the side of the building to stick. I put on the mask and jumped off the side of the restaurant, swinging towards the electrical storm. I knew it could only be two things, 1, Thor, or 2, Electro. I arrived in the busy crowded street and saw a man made of blue electricity floating in the middle of the streets, laughing as he sent blast after blast of electricity into the street. Sometimes he hit cars, other times he hit the road, exploding pieces of concrete up into the air. "Someone help us," a woman cried out. "Shut up, you fucking whore." Electro yelled out, "No one gives a damn about you." "Someone please," she screamed even louder. I said shut the fuck up, he yelled. I could see he was going to electrocute her. But before he could, I sent out a web line and pulled her out of the way of his oncoming bolt of electricity. "What the hell?" Electro roared as he turned to see me on the roof. "Spiderman. I'll give you one chance," I told him as my eyes searched the wreckage for Felicia. "Leave and never come back. You think you can order me around? No one can order me around. Not anymore." Electro roared as he sent out bolts of electricity at me. Acting on pure instinct, I jumped out of the way as the bolts of powers destroyed the roof I was standing on. "Come on, Sparky. Is that the best you can do?" I asked as I swung across the street. "Hold still," he roared, trying to hit me, but every time he got close I would just swing away in a different direction. I landed on a building wall and looked down to see Felicia pulling someone out of a wrecked car. Her clothes were torn apart, her hair a mess, but seeing her help people to safety I couldn't help but feel she looked so goddamn beautiful. "I'm going to crush you, Spider. And when I do, I'll be the hero." Electro roared as he threw a bolt of power at me. I dodged with no issue as I slowly led him away from the destruction he had caused. I kept taunting him, keeping his attention on me. I kept telling him how much of a wimp he was, and he grew more and more enraged. This was good. The more focused he was on me, the less damage he caused everyone else. He was floating through the streets of Queens as I led him towards an island of water from the East River. I could see the bridge now. I need to drown him, that was the only way. But just then he threw a bolt of electricity at my web line, cutting it in half, causing me to come flying down into the ground. I landed on my feet, but the pain was too much. I rolled around on the ground. I'm pretty sure one of my legs were broken if not bruised. I looked up and saw Electro fly above me, smirking as he did. "I'm better than you, I'll always be better than you. You're nothing, Spider. Less than nothing." I rolled my eyes. "Ego much? Before you kill me, can I know one thing?" "What? Do you like water?" I asked. Electro looked confused and I took my chute. I shot a web line at a nearby fire hydrant and ripped it off. Using my good leg, I jumped up to the side of the building to avoid the water. "What do you think you're doing?"
You think I won't just dash, but as he talked a stray strand of electricity rolling off his body connected with the water, sending a feedback strong enough to shock him still. What the hell was that? He cried out. I shot 2 web lines at him and pulled him forward. That was basic physics. I then launched myself right at him. I clocked him across the jaw as hard as I could and he went flying back. I landed on top a lamppost and turned around, covering him with webbing over and over again. I jumped all around him, covering him from head to toe with webbing. At first he was too much in a daze from the pain to do anything, and then when he did get his full mental faculties back he lacked the strength to escape. Soon I ran out of webbing and Electro was covered head to toe with it. He was somehow still floating above and I could see smoke rising from his body. He was burning through the webs. I jumped down to the street level and broke 4 more fire hydrants out of the ground, soaking the street in water. I quickly changed web cartridges, putting in new ones to replace the empty ones. You can't hold me. This pathetic webbing can't hold me forever, Spider. Electro roared as more and more of my webbing was burnt off. Maybe, but I can still hurt you. I webbed up my right hand in a thick glove. Time to do something stupid. I climbed up the side of the building, slowly as my legs still throbbed in pain. I turned around to face him. He was 20 feet off the ground. Time to make that 0. I jumped just as he tore through the last of the webbing. He didn't see my fist coming at his face at full force. I felt my fist break a tooth as it met with his face at high velocity. He lost control, flying into a building before landing down on the water-covered street. I landed on wall of another building and watched as he started to electrocute himself, the water conducting the water back into himself at an alarming rate. I knew if I left him like that he would die, so I reluctantly pulled him up with a web line and hung him upside down from a lamppost. I made sure to insulate him thoroughly with webbing. He wouldn't be awake for some time now. But looking at Electro, I was honestly curious, how did he conduct so much power without dying? I was curious, so I looked around and found a broken car on the ground. I went to it and found the headlight smashed in. I unscrewed the headlight and used it as a test tube to collect blood samples from Electro. I didn't use an injection. There was plenty amount of his blood coming out of his broken jaw and bleeding gums. I covered the open end of the light bulb with webbing and put it away. With my curiosity sated, I swung away to find Felicia. I swung back to ground zero of this whole incident and found people slowly getting back on their feet. I spotted Felicia with an elderly man helping him catch his breath. I smiled and immediately swung back to grab my clothes. In 5 minutes I came back, but not as Spider-Man but as Peter Parker. I spotted Felicia and ran to her. Felicia. She looked up and her eyes went wide. Peter. I grabbed her into a big hug, holding her close as I rubbed her hair. Oh kitten, I was so worried. I'm fine, Felicia smiled. I'm sorry I couldn't make it to our date. Oh shut up, I growled, grabbing her into a kiss. She moaned in surprise before slowly melting into my arms. Her arms around my neck, mine around her hips. We finally broke the kiss as we heard people cheering and clapping for us. We turned around and people smiling and cheering. I didn't understand why. Maybe they were just so glad they were all alive, but in the end I didn't care. We helped where we could before the authorities showed up. Felicia was given a clean bill of health, and from what I heard no one had actually gotten too badly hurt, except one man who was stuck by Electro's lighting and had to be rushed to the ER. I also saw 3 black trucks travel down the road to where I strung up Electro, the S.H.I.E.L.D logo proudly displayed on the side of the truck. Guess Fury was keeping an eye on me. I helped Felicia get into a cab as we went to the school for the dance. But when we reached, she stopped and didn't want to move. What's wrong? I asked her. My dress is ruined, she said, lifting up my coat I had wrapped around her to stay warm, to reveal her torn dress. It was stunning, really, tight enough to hug her impressive curves. Her ass was tight and curvy, like a perfect peach. Her breast, though still developing,
were a firm C-cup. Her dress was midnight black with silver lining along the sides, and though it was torn in places I still couldn't take my eyes off of it. "I think you look perfect," I whispered, giving her lips a light kiss. "Peter, I'm not going in there," Felicia grumbled. "Seriously?" I asked. She nodded, "Yup." "That's too bad, I really wanted to show off how amazing you look," I whispered as I pulled her close, our foreheads touching, her arms on my shoulder and mine of her hips. "Oh, so I'm something to show off now?" she asked in a teasing tone. "No, not something, someone. Someone who helped save lives," I whispered back. I wanted people to see the real you. "Peter, that isn't the real me," she didn't sound so sure. "Keep telling yourself that, kitten," I smiled. "You know, I wanted at least one dance with you tonight." "I'm not going in there," she replied. "No. You don't have to." I took out my phone and looked through the songs, finding one that I thought would be perfect for this moment. The song started to play, the melody loud enough for only the two of us to hear. The song began as the lyrics flew out. Felicia and I swayed to the music. Slowly, at our own pace we danced. I could smell her, a scent so unique and unusual I doubt I could ever forget it. I could hear her breathing quicken. I smiled as I felt our bodies slowly heat up. "You know, for a guy who is supposed to be horrible at social interactions, you sure have a way with romance," Felicia smiled. "I guess I was just waiting for the right girl," I replied back. She was silent, like she was thinking about something important. And finally she spoke. "Peter, you want to go out sometime? Like on a date?" I asked. "Yeah, like a date. A real date." She looked into my eyes. "I would love that, kitten," I smiled. "I'll be honest though, I didn't think you were the settling type." "I wasn't," she admitted, "but you're different, Peter Parker. You're like a puzzle piece I can't figure out, and longer that it the more I find myself thinking about you." "Does that mean you'll stop being interested after you figure me out?" I asked, a little worry slipping into my voice. "No. I don't think so." "Well, I'm glad to know that," I chuckled as we danced in our own little world. The stars twinkling under us as we didn't say another word to each other, afraid to break the spell of romance we had over us. Chapter 10, A Date to Remember. I dropped Felicia home. It was a large apartment complex in the good part of town. She seemed embarrassed to admit she lived there, but I didn't really care. I gave her a deep goodnight kiss before leaving back home. My leg was hurting. I managed to hide the limp from Felicia so that she wouldn't be worried, but now I didn't bother hiding the limp. I managed to convince May and Ben I just twisted my ankle while dancing, laughing it off. They asked me if I was alright. They heard about Electro, and I lied, telling them I was nowhere near that psycho. I went into my room and quickly changed into my night clothes. I pulled the vial of Electro's blood suit pocket and looked at it. It still sparked in power. I hid in under my bed and lied down intending to get some sleep. But 5 minutes later my door creaked open. I grumbled. "I already knew who it was. I thought you would give me a week to think about it." "That was before you took out a man that shot lightning out of his ass," came Fury's response as he took a seat on my chair. "Besides, I came to understand you already made up your mind." "Did she tell you my conditions?" I asked. "Yes, she did." "Tell me, kid, why are you so obsessed with this small place? Why limit yourself? This is my home, Fury. Why wouldn't I want to protect it?" I asked. "Are you expecting it to be burned to the ground if you're not there to protect it? Last month I stopped a man in a wearable tank suit destroy a street, and today I stopped a man that shot lightning out of his fingers from killing people. Do you want to ask me that again?" Fury looked impressed. He remained silent. It was an interrogation tactic, one I wasn't falling for. Finally he broke first. "She also told me the other condition you had. You want to keep what you make for us. You'll give me funding and access. I want autonomy for whatever I invent." That's a lot of freedom you're asking for. Why should I believe you won't just take this tech and run away? What makes you think I'll listen to you while training? I raised an eyebrow. You need me and I need you. You know me, do you really think I'm capable of doing that? Yes. I smirked. Good. Because I am. But I also don't like letting people get hurt when I can stop it. So until you allow me to do that, you won't get any problem from me. Fury thought it over for a moment before nodding. The conditions are acceptable. Are you ready to begin? What? Now? Yes, why? Did you want to sleep? He asked in a mocking tone. I growled. For your information, I actually did get hurt in the last fight. I pointed at my leg, which was now visibly bruised. It's going to take me a few days to heal. Fury narrowed his eyes. Do you need medicine? We can provide medical support if you wish. No, I can't be sure how my body will react to a foreign substance. I'm still not sure just what inside me has changed. I'll be fine, just give me 2 days or so. Fine, Fury nodded. This is the last time you'll see me, Parker. I'm assigning Agent Romanoff to be your liaison with S.H.I.E.L.D. and your trainer. You'll listen to her and do exactly what she says, understood? I raised an eyebrow. And Agent Romanoff is my English teacher, yes? Fury nodded, yes. What happens when Duncan returns to the job? Mr. Duncan has won an all-expense-paid trip to Hawaii where he'll spend the better part of a year. I doubt we'll see him anytime soon. I whistled. Damn, that's a lot of planning and money spent on little old me. Am I really worth all that? I guess we'll find out, Fury said, walking out. He closed the door behind him and I heard his footsteps leave the house. I sighed and went back to bed. Sometimes I wish I never became a goddamn superhero. The next day. I woke up early on Saturday and quickly checked my house for bugs. I found 10 in my room and 5 in the basement. I proceeded to destroy them, but instead of throwing them in the trash I kept them around to study. If S.H.I.E.L.D. insisted on wasting bugs on me, who was I to complain? I had breakfast and limped my way downstairs. I locked myself inside and took out the arc reactors I was studying. I spent the better part of the afternoon further studying it. It was honestly amazing. It could produce more energy than anything its size had any business doing. It was like a portable giant battery that never ran out of juice. Unless its core was depleted, which was a major problem. They were using palladium, something that had a high deterioration rate and would get burnt out fast. Tony would need to synthesize a new element to fix this problem, which was exactly what he did in Iron Man 2. I went online and searched the science documentary websites and immediately was bombarded with news that Stark had applied for a patent to a new element which he promptly named Batasium. The new element would be able to power an arc reactor indefinitely, instead of constant changes in palladium cells. I needed to get my hands on some of that, but unfortunately only one man on Earth could make it, and I doubt he would like the fact I knew how to make his favorite toy. I then moved on to the repulsor technology. I understood what he used to thrust himself upwards, but I needed to understand how. It took me all day, but I finally managed to break down the system and rebuild it. I even had a few ideas on how to improve the system, maybe even use this technology in other gadgets I wished to build. That night as I was packing things up, my phone buzzed. Someone had texted me. It was Felicia. F. Hey. P. Hey yourself. How have you been? F. Fine. You. P. Okay, just doing a little studying. F. You are such a nerd. P. Yup. F. Anyway, about last night. P. Yes. F. Remember what I asked? P. For a proper date? F. Yeah, are you free tomorrow? P. For you? Always. Where do you want to go? F. Anywhere is fine, Tiger. Your pick. P. Okay, dinner and a movie sound good to you? F. Yes. I'll see you then. Pick me up. P. Yup. Night kitten. F. Night tiger. She wasn't much of a texter and neither was I. Guess I had a date to plan. On Sunday I worked a little more on the repulsor tech and the drones. The drones themselves were boring as hell, big, clumsy and outdated. Guess that's what you get when you rip off other people's ideas instead of making your own. I of course also planned on ripping Stark's tech, but at least I understood what I was doing and knew how to make improvements. Around the afternoon I got ready and went out to pick Felicia up. She looked amazing. She wore a pair of tight jeans, a black blouse with a jacket over it. The date wasn't something out of a fairy tale or something like that, it was just a way for us to get to know each other. We watched some crappy comedy movie and laughed at the horrible acting and the corny jokes. I took her out for dinner and she insisted on splitting the check, something about it being fair after standing me up at Julio's. And now I walked her back home, telling her a joke that made her laugh so hard she snorted like a pig. "Oh my God, I can't believe you did that," she laughed. "I know. So I'm stuck under the principal's desk." She comes in and sits down and I'm praying Osborn has the balls to trip the alarm. And just as I was about to reach third base with the principal, he did it. I managed to sneak out when she left to see what the commotion was about, but after that I swore I would never ever follow Harry's dumb ideas. Felicia snorted, "Ha. Oh God." I grinned, "You sound so cute when you snort." "Shut it," she hissed, still smiling. "I'm serious. It makes you look so cute." "As if I wasn't cute before," she huffed. "No, you're usually beautiful, now you're cute." I smiled as I did my best to walk slower, but soon we reached at her place. I looked at the building. Stupid building, why did have to be so close? "So, I guess this is it, huh?" Felicia smiled, "How about another walk around the block? I don't feel like going home and giving Mom a report on what I did tonight." I grinned, "Sounds good." I wrapped my hand around hers as we walked around the block again and again. We did that for an hour, just talking with each other, neither wanting to end this night. But soon her mother called her up and asked her to come home. It was getting late. I sighed, "I had a great time tonight." Felicia smiled, "Yeah, me too, Tiger." You want to do this again sometime." "Why, Tiger, are you asking me to be your girlfriend?" she teased. I blinked. Did I? There were so many things we hide from each other. I knew a few of her secrets, but she knew none of mine and, oh fuck it. I cupped her face with both hands and bent forward, catching her lips in mine. She dived into the kiss, her hands wrapping around me as I heard her sigh. I broke it slowly, holding her close as I looked into her eyes. "Will you?" She smiled, "Sure, why not?" I smiled, "Looks like I just hit the jackpot, kitten." I kissed her again and with that the date ended and I officially had a girlfriend. On my way back home I wondered if this was the right thing to do. Having a girlfriend was a big responsibility and a commitment. I didn't know if I can tell her everything about me, Spider-Man, S.H.I.E.L.D, all of that. I didn't know, so maybe for now we take it slow, yeah? On Monday I walked into school with a spring in my step. I was excited to see my girlfriend. Wow, that sounded weird to say. Anyway, I walked up to my locker and opened it when suddenly two hands covered my eyes. "Guess who?" she sang and I smiled. I recognized her scent anywhere. I grabbed her by the hands and pulled her around, pinning her against the locker as I kissed her on the lips. I quickly broke it and smiled, "Morning, Felicia. If you're going to grate me like that every morning I might actually like coming to school, Tiger," she said huskily. "Are you going to let me go or what?" Such a tough choice. On one hand I could get in trouble, but on the other hand I really don't want to. I smiled before moving away, letting her free. "So, you ready for your physics quiz?" "That's today," she asked, surprised. "Great, and I didn't study." "This is all your fault, you know." "How?" "Because I was supposed to study last night, but you had to ask me out and make me all emotional that I completely forgot. I rolled my eyes. Relax, you'll pass, why else have I been tutoring you every day after school? Because you like spending time with me. Well, that is true, I smiled as we went to first period together. I tried to spend as much time as I could with Felicia. She was honestly a lot nicer than I gave her credit for. Maybe it was because she was younger and more impressionable, but she was nothing like the Black Cat I read in the comics. We did garner some attention, people looked at us and guessed that we were dating. MJ and Harry also looked closer. I guess she finally said yes to him. It didn't bother me as much now, but I was still worried based on the fact she was now with an Osborn of all people. After school we had our tutoring session. I was right when I said Felicia would pass her quiz. She did it with flying colors. Unfortunately she had to go home early that night. Her mother had called and needed her back home immediately. Felicia left, but not without giving me a big goodbye kiss that lasted a little longer than necessary. I think it was her way to telling MJ to stay away. So, you and Felicia huh? MJ asked as we packed up our stuff. I could say the same about you and Osborn, I told her as we left the coffee shop. It's not official or anything, he asked me out on a date. I said yes. MJ shrugged. Look MJ, I know it's not my business or anything, but be careful. Don't trust Norman Osborn, that man is shrewd and cunning. Harry looks up to him and obeys him. He can't help it. Be wary, don't let them convince you to do something you don't want to. Be careful. Oh relax Peter, you sound like I'm going to fight a war. MJ laughed. I groaned. In some ways she was right. We went our separate ways and the moment I turned the corner I noticed I was being followed, and by someone familiar. I snuck into the nearest alleyway and waited for her to follow me. She stepped in and I nodded, Agent Romanoff. Natasha removed her glasses and blonde wig. Your ability to see past disguises is exceptional. Most wouldn't be able to notice what was right under their noses. Hiding in plain sight, right? I asked, nodding. Anyway, are you here to take me to my first assignment? You're not ready for any field work, not until I say so. She put her disguise away and motioned me to follow. Come, it's time I showed you where you'll be trained. I followed her without question. I walked back a good 5 feet just in case she didn't want people to know we were together. As we walked I couldn't help my ass landing on her amazing ass. I couldn't help it. She had the body of Scarlett Johansson. You try not checking that ass out. I think she caught though as she turned around and smiled seductively. I knew there was no emotion behind that look. She was just trying to rile me up, so I just smiled back with a shrug. We eventually reached the old warehouse near the old part of Queens. She took out a golden key and unlocked the door. The inside was barren. The entire place was empty except for a few crates of what looked like packing paper. She walked up to the wall on the right and pressed her hand against a normal-looking stone. It blared to life and the wall opened, revealing an elevator inside. We got in. The lift had only 3 options, G, B, and LB: ground, basement and lower basement if I had to guess. Natasha pressed LB and we were off. Did Fury tell you what is expected of you? Natasha asked. No, but I can take a guess. He wants me to be a field agent, one that is prepared for anything and everything the world might throw at me. You'll be handling my training and like you said, once you think I'm ready I'll be sent out on mission. Did I miss anything? I'll also be teaching you how to operate as an agent, not just training you to be a fighter. I'll teach you to be a spy, to infiltrate a gang and disable it from the inside out. I raised an eyebrow. Read my file, have you? What gave you that idea? You mentioned fight a gang from the inside, obviously you know about GST, trying to draw my attention to your usefulness. Natasha raised an unimpressed eyebrow. Good, you'll need those observation skills of yours. Though next time, don't reveal all your cards. The lift doors opened, revealing a darkened room. Natasha snapped her fingers and the lights came on. I gaped. It was an underground command center with a conference table in the middle, computer monitors to one side, an old-fashioned filing cabinets to the other, a locker with guns and other weaponry near the back and a sofa with a small kitchen further away. Welcome to the Queen's safe house. S.H.I.E.L.D gave it to us for training and mission purposes. We'll have other agents drop in from time to time, but other than that it's only going to be us. Come, I'll show you around. Natasha walked off. This is the main room, she pointed to room we were in. She went through a hallway near the back. We passed by several rooms with transparent walls, gym, data hub, lab, and supply closet. Any questions? Do you live here? I asked. The floor below. Okay, when do we start? Now, follow me. She took me back to the main hall. She pressed a button, the wall opened up revealing a closet filled with S.H.I.E.L.D uniforms. She picked up a pair of tracks, shirt, and shoes. Put this on and meet me at the gym. I did so and walked into the gym. I could see weights and gymnastic equipments further away, but in the middle of the room was a giant training mat. I looked around but no redhead in sight. I was about to drop the matter when my spidey senses went off. She was going to jump me from the back. I turned and grabbed her in the last moment, throwing her away clumsy. Natasha landed on her feet and narrowed her eyes. How did you know? So S.H.I.E.L.D doesn't have a record of all my powers, huh? I grinned. Natasha didn't say anything, simply raising a single eyebrow. I sighed. It's like precognition. Every time I'm in danger my brain goes into hyperdrive and allows me to react faster than normal. So you're psychic? She asked. No, I don't think so. I think it's something to do with the spider that bite me. It could sense danger as well. I'm not exactly sure how it works, but it does. Maybe you should research your powers, it could prove useful. I raised an eyebrow. Isn't S.H.I.E.L.D already doing that for me? I assumed you already got some DNA from me. I really didn't like that idea, but it was a fact. No spy agency worth their salt would not take measures to control an unknown factor. We don't experiment with our agents' DNA without their permission, she lied through her teeth. Whoa, that's amazing. You going to teach me how to lie that good? Or is it more like a natural thing? I asked. Natasha raised an eyebrow before smiling. She got into a fighting stance. Let's see what you got, Spider. I grinned. Bring it, Natty. The next hour was pain and bruises for me. My reaction time was good, great even, but like I have found out time and time again, people with enough skills, like Felicia, can get the drop on me. And Natasha took joy in pointing that out. Bam. She slammed me into the floor once more, pinning me down with her foot on my chest. You're still reacting instead of leading, Spider. Your instincts are good, but they should only be used as a last resort, nothing more. So you keep saying, I growled, getting back up, again. No, that's enough for now. I need to figure out what best to teach you. Nat pulled out a phone and typed away into it. You can use the weights and gymnastic equipment until then. Don't hurt yourself. I nodded as I moved to the weights. I picked up a 20-pound dumbbell easy and began some basic curls. So Nat, what types of martial arts do you know? Karate, judo, jiu-jitsu, boxing, aikido, sabat, ninjutsu, various styles of kung fu and kenpo. Just to name a few. I stopped and whistled. Damn, remind me never to get on your bad side. Sure, she gave a half smile. Every day you'll have hand-to-hand training with me for an hour. I'll give you an hour break in between for you to complete your homework and such before going into other details such as tactics and how to be a field agent. You'll have to spend at least 3 hours with me in this bunker every day. Got that? 3 hours in a bunker with a beautiful woman every day? Other than my girlfriend getting jealous, I don't see a problem. I shrugged. Good, you have free time now, don't waste it. And with that she left. After working out for a bit I went and finished all my homework for the day, relaxing for the rest of the time. Natasha then made me sat down at the conference table and slammed thick 2,000-page book in front of me. The S.H.I.E.L.D. manual, read it, memorize it. I whistled, the font was small, really small, is this really necessary? Yes. Do you follow every word in this? Yes. Again, you really have to tell me how you can lie so easily, I scoffed, pushing the book to the side. So what's first teach? She put down a book in French. You need to learn new languages if you want to fit in. I know a little bit of French, I think we can skip this part, I told her in my best French. Natasha's eyebrows actually raised up in surprise. I didn't know you spoke French. There's a lot you don't know about me, Nat. For instance, I love vanilla ice cream. Put that in my file, would you? Nat rolled her eyes. Fine, what languages do you know? French, Spanish, a little German, and I began to read up on Japanese, but I stopped halfway. Okay then, let's test your language skills, she said before asking me GK questions in different languages. After I answer a question correctly in the same language, she would switch to a completely different one. She stuck to the languages I knew, but she made me work for it, asking more and more complex questions. At the end of my first training session I was exhausted mentally and physically, but I knew it was worth it. I made my way to the Baxter building by 7 or so and spent 2 hours with them helping Reed and Sue out on their projects. By that time Felicia had called me 2 times, one when I was in the bunker and once at the Baxter building. She was just checking up on me and I had to lie about the bunker thing, telling her I was just at the Shikara dojo. We chatted for a while until she hung up, telling me she had to go. It was gooey and romantic, but I liked it just the same. At around 9 in the night I returned home and ate. I told Ben and May I was going to be putting in more hours at the Baxter building from now on, and they understood, though May was a little reluctant. At around 11, when I knew they wouldn't disturb me, I swung out into the city as Spider-Man. I still had a job to do after all. As I swung down Hell's Kitchen I stopped by Matt Murdock's place. The rookie lawyer had now made a name for himself and his firm with the handling of the GST case. Of course he wasn't allowed to represent the state, that was the DA's job, but he did get credit for bringing in the evidence to the case. I swung by his house and noticed him sitting in his living room reading a book. He paused for a moment and turned out the window. I guess his hearing was so good he could hear my heartbeat from across the street. He waved at me and I waved back, though I later realized that was a stupid thing to do when dealing with a blind man. I stopped a ATM robbery and 2 muggings that night. And just when I was about to call it a night I saw a figure in a black tracksuit running towards the banking district. I rolled my eyes, so that's what she was busy with. I swung by and landed before her. Hey, a cat? Fancy running into you here. Great, you again. Black Cat sighed. Seriously man, you are totally bumming my style. Can't a girl rob rich people blind in peace in this town? Well, no, I shrugged. Anyway, how about instead of being a thief tonight and me stopping you and you eventually getting away, we skip the whole deal and get something to eat? I'm hungry and I doubt you had something this late in the night. Cat snorted. Hate to break it to you, Spider, but I have a boyfriend. I gasped in surprise. Really? You don't seem the type. My acting must be Oscar worthy cause she bought it. Black Cat shrugged. I didn't think I was either, but, well, things change. Ah, is it that hero guy who saved your life? I remember mentioning him before. I scratched my head, never did get his name. And you're never going to, she narrowed her eyes dangerously, and who I'm dating is of none business of yours. I rolled my eyes. Lady, you have no idea. Well, okay, sheesh, just curious. So have you told him yet? About, I pointed at her costume up and down. No, of course not, she hissed, I'm not stupid. He would freak out. I shrugged. I don't know, from what you told me he seems like a pretty sweet guy. Plus I mean, Starting a relationship with secrets is, well, it's not healthy. Trust me. My girlfriend is awesome, but she likes to hide things. Wait, you have a girlfriend? Cat sounded surprised. Yup. What? You think with a body like this I didn't have one? I laughed. So, is she like a spider or something? I blinked. No, she's human. Really? Does she live in Canada? She teased. I sighed. Why would I lie about having a girlfriend to one of my arch rivals? I'm your arch rival. Well, it's either you or Electro. Honestly, I'm glad you're the closest thing I have to an arch rival. I do not need that kind of stress in my life. Cat hummed as she let it on the roof. So, you think I should tell him? I nodded as I stood next to her. Definitely. My girl tried to hide something from me and I found out. I think she thinks I would freak out, but I honestly didn't care. It was part of the reason I liked her. But I don't want to push it, we're just starting out and I don't want to seem pushy. So you know her secret, but you're just acting dumb? Black Cat asked. Yup. I want her to trust me enough to tell me off her own accord, only then can our relationship move. Does she know about, well, the whole superhero thing? Nope, I chuckled. Then why don't you tell her? If you want your relationship to mature, can't you just tell her your secret and push her to reveal hers? Not really, I know her secret, Cat, and I accept that. But I don't know how she'll react to me dressing up and fighting crime. Honestly, I don't want to lose her. Cat gave me an understanding smile as she rubbed my hand. Give it time. I'm sure she'll come around. And you? Are you going to tell your boy toy who you really are? I think so, she shook her head. Not right now, but soon. We just started going out yesterday and I don't want to scare him off. Well, whatever you do, I hope you succeed. Oh, and one more thing, I grabbed her hand, currently trying to pick one of my pockets. Please don't try to rob me while we're having an emotional moment, it's really a dick move. Hee, sorry Spider, old habit. She got on the building ledge and threw a grapple line across, swinging away. See you, Spider, she cried out as she swung away. I sighed. I should probably stop her or something, but there is no way in hell I'm sending my own girlfriend into jail. So for tonight I guess she gets a free pass. For the next month or so this was my life. School was the one normal part of my life, which also made it the most boring. I managed to get around that though by making out with Felicia as much as I could. She and I almost got caught several times, but that just made things all the more exciting. Nat began to really tighten the screws on me during training. I had to memorize that manual in a week's time and learn to forget or ignore certain parts as the need arises. Most were easy to remember, it mostly involved not acting like an idiot while on missions. Nat also began to teach me different forms of fighting, starting with karate, the simplest form, according to her at least. While my kendo training did help with the basics, I had to learn of new techniques in a short while. Difficult to do, but I was willing to put in the time. She kicked my ass every day and slowly I was learning to spot the weak points in her attacks, at least the ones she let me find. She also started to drill me on other fields of knowledge I would need to know, like fashion, current world news, reality TV shows and even art criticism. I would need to blend in while on missions. You will never know when even the most basic of information might end up saving lives. I did, however, have time to lean back and relax. Felicia and I texted constantly. At one point Nat broke my phone because I wasn't focusing on her lecture. I had to buy a new phone and promise never to use it while training. But that didn't stop us from growing closer. Whenever I could I spent time with her. Sometimes she almost felt suffocated and needed her own space, but I understood. She wasn't used to these feelings, so I took it slowly. She didn't tell me she was the Black Cat yet. I guess that is to be expected, after all we have just been dating for a month or so.
I think there was one OT 2 times she was considering it, but I can't be too sure of that. Other than Felicia, I had no personal life. MJ did talk to me when she could, but she usually just spent most of her time with her new boyfriend, who I think is starting to realize having a girlfriend isn't all fun and games. Whatever, it's Osborn's problem now. At the Baxter building I finally started to get into my own research. I brought the arc reactors and drone parts I stole and put them in my lab. I kept them hidden and out of sight. The FF didn't need to learn about these just yet. I began experimenting with them, working on how to improve them. It took me some time before I fully understood how each system worked, and to be honest I was both impressed and horrified at Peter's intelligence. The kid understood something the smartest men in the world had trouble figuring out. Sure, he had an actual model, but still, impressive and scary. I also began researching into Electro's blood. The blood was an amazing conductor of electricity. I used the FF's advanced tools to do a thorough analysis of the blood and found what made it tick. I have a theory. First, Max, Electro's real name, was flash frozen to extremely low temperatures and then electrocuted, turning his entire body into a superconductor of some kind. But you see, what happened next kept him alive, as each and every mitochondria in his body became supercharged, allowing it to adapt to the immense amount of power pushed into him. How the last part happened was anyone's guess. Personally, I think he was bit by a radioactive eel, but that's just my theory. Which actually might be true on some level. I managed to analyze the mitochondria in his cells and figure out just makes it tick, allowing me an idea on how to use this blood to improve on Stark's arc reactor. These days people use artificially created mitochondria to power nanobots. But I figured out what I need to change in a mitochondria to make it similar to the ones Elector has in his blood. It took me all month to figure that out. I had to get Reed's help with a few of the formulas, but luckily he had more than enough time to help me out. By the end of November I had created a superconductive liquid that could store electricity and absorb it at will. It was like creating Electro's blood in a test tube, however it was black. I took to calling it Parker blood, having Sue patenting this new type of energy transfer system. Usually we would use wires to transfer electricity, but now I could use Parker blood to do it 5 times faster without having the material heating up. It was perfect for a system. Simply use a fiber cable and fill it with Parker blood and boom, the transfer speeds were 5 times faster than fiber optics cable. When I showed my invention to Sue and the rest, they were impressed. "Peter, you are amazing." Sue grabbed me into a big hug. "This thing is going to make us rich." "Sis, sometimes I think you only care about cash," Johnny snorted. "Well, someone has to. We need funding, don't we?" Sue yelled before turning to me and smiling. "But seriously, Peter, this is amazing. We can actually sell this for public consumption. If I can get Google on the phone, I'm sure they would be bidding through their teeth to get a piece of this new tech." I smiled. "Thanks, Sue, but before that, do you think we can patent it?" "Of course we will, don't worry about it." "Damn, 15 and already have 2 patents under your name." Sue smiled, turning to Reed. "Remember when that was us?" Reed smiled. "What are you talking about? I'm still that impressive." "Right." Sue rolled her eyes before turning to me. "All right, Peter, I'll get right on this. Also here, I almost forgot to give you this." She handed me a check and I blinked looking at it. "10,000. I squeaked looking at the check. "Is this the money for the essay?" "No, this is your monthly allowance." Sue smiled. "Did you honestly forget we're actually paying you?" I nodded. "Kinda, yeah." "Ha. That's rich." Johnny chuckled. "Anyway, sis, you haven't told him about the deal with Amazon yet." "All right, already? I'm getting to it." Sue huffed. "Anyway, Peter, the deal with Amazon went through. We got them to accept the essay as a more advanced version of the Kindle. We did have to make a few modifications to it, but it shouldn't be too different." I shrugged. "It's cool." "So, what's the deal?"
Well, the Baxter building was given $2 million for the rights of manufacturing, and you will get 5% of every SA ever sold as royalty checks. How much are they going to sell it for? I asked curiously. Around $1,000, she smiled. I whistled. Damn, that's like $50 in my pocket for every SA sold. Yup. So use the money wisely, Spider, don't grow a big ego, you hear? Sue warned with a wink, quickly getting on the phone with her patent lawyer to talk about Parker Blood. I was grinning ear to ear that night when I went home. Ben and May were curious as to why I had cashed in the check Sue gave me and dropped 10 grand on the table, starting them both. Ben had actually gotten scared, thinking I had robbed an ATM or something. I just laughed and told him the truth, and after a call to Sue Storm just to be sure, they hugged me and whispered they were proud. I made them take the money to pay for the bills that were piling up in the mail. They refused, of course, like the Nobel people they were. They insisted I use the money for my college funds or something similar, but I was just as stubborn as them, and maybe a little more so. I had to tell them about the royalty checks Amazon would give me to finally get them to agree to take the cash. That night Ben told me in private how things were barely holding together at home and how the cash I gave them would really turn things around. May didn't want to admit it, but Ben knew what had to be done. So with that done, I finally began to make myself a proper costume for myself. Don't get me wrong, the jacket was perfect and all, but it was still just a jacket. If I was going to fight crimes and people, I needed to become better. So I used the tech I had on hand to make myself a new costume. I got a S.H.I.E.L.D. tactical suit from the Armoy in the bunker, with Natasha's permission, of course. It was made of a polymer blend with 10 layers of treated composite materials. It provided a state-of-the-art ballistic protection, plus it came in black. I then created a miniature arc reactor of my own design, its body shape hexagonal instead of circular and its internal wiring system replaced with Parker Blood. It caused the reactor to glow black, but it also allowed me to reduce the size of the machine to just 3 inches of height. I attached wires of PB to the reactor and spread them across the suit like lines on a circuit board. Since of course they were just wires and could easily break on impact, so I added a layer of red cloth of the same polymer blend over the wires that was semi-transparent. When the arc reactor was active, the wire glowed on the red surface. It looked like a giant black web. It spread from the chest all the way down to my arms, upper back, around my hip and along the side of my legs. The Parker Blood wires were like a circulatory system for the suit, glowing black with energy transferred around the whole suit. It really did look like the classic Spider-Man costume, except with black and red instead of red and blue. I also decided my web shooters needed an upgrade. They were great as they were, but I needed them to be more powerful, to do more. I also needed to add in the repulsor technology into them, and that would be a challenge. I put in more features into the web shooters, made the range of webbing I could fire out much larger. I also worked in a way to create a thick blanket of webbing, which I could use as insulation in case I ever fought someone who I couldn't touch directly. I then went a little mad, adding in more and more additions to the shooters. A cartridge I could throw like a grenade, webbing that won't ever tear, and even a laser-guided web bullet that could fly over 100 feet. But the shooter began to become too heavy and clunky. I couldn't fit all these new changes around my wrist alone, so instead of just a wristband I decided to do a full gauntlet instead. It was actually based off the drone's robotic design. I designed the gauntlets to go around my forearms and carry inside it spare web carriages that would automatically switch when an old one ran out. Sort of like a machine gun changing rounds automatically. I also left a lot of empty room inside the gauntlet, so that I could one day add more interesting features to it. Right now I had a small computer inside that acted like a phone, GPS, navigation, Google, the works. I had an SA to serve as the screen and a small keypad underneath it. It wasn't much, but it would do for now. The gloves were attached to the gauntlet and were made of a polymer similar to my suit. I attached knuckles bracer on it. It would give my punches an extra oomph. I also attached a small repulsor in the palm of my hand, strong enough to be used as weapons. Sorry Tony, I might have to rip you off. The gauntlets were silver, breaking away from the whole black and red color scheme I had on hand. I knew I had to find a way to hide these in plain sight, so I made it such that they fold into themselves into the size of 2 large smartphones and be hidden away in the stretching of my bag if need be. I thought of sticking repulsor to the bottom of my feet as well, but they were just too big and clunky. I needed my speed and balance as Spider-Man, and sticking 2 large discs under my feet would throw me off balance. So sadly Spider-Man wouldn't be able to fly anytime soon. I then moved on to my mask. While the cloth mask was classic and all that, it was also kind of stupid. I was swinging through the city on a rope at near terminal velocity, one mistake, and I'm flying towards the ground, and if I'm not careful that could mean my head gets split open like a coconut. So I decided it would be best if I made a helmet instead. It was actually something Johnny helped me with. When it came to things that involved cars, he was the best. He helped create a helmet that could be collapsed into half its size without losing its structural integrity. I made the helmet smooth and all-encompassing. I added the night vision goggles I stole from Rhino and his crew into it, figured it would be useful later on. I still had a lot of upgrades I could make, but for now this was perfect. When not in use, the helmet would collapse into a face mask that could then expand around my head to form a helmet that fit perfectly. I even made the surface out of alternate hue panels that could change colors on command, so when not is used it would look ordinary, but while I had it turned on, it would become red with black web lines covering its surface. I was finished working on the costume in the middle of December. I put it up on display in my lab at the Baxter building and sighed. There were so many things I could add into it, but I would need to be patient. I didn't have the tech yet. Just then the doors opened up and Sue walked up. "Hey Peter, I wanted to talk about the PB patent." She stopped noticing my suit hanging on the wall. She whistled. "So this is what you and Johnny were working on?" "Yup," I sighed as I checked the gauntlets one more time, collapsing them before turning them back to normal. I really had to be sure they worked when I needed. He wasn't kidding. "This is ingenious." Sue examined the suit. "You sure Stark won't mind you ripping of his tech?" I shrugged. "It's not technically his. With the addition of the PB unit, it's a completely different machine altogether. The arc reactor might be similar to Stark's, but I don't really think he would sue me over that." "Whatever you say, Pete," Sue said, further examining the suit. "So Sue, did you need something?" I asked. "Oh, right, it's about the PB patent. I managed to streamline it and people have begun to take notice. I kept your name out of the spotlight for as long as I could, but if we are going to go public with this, you might garner a little attention." I shrugged. "It's fine. I can handle it." "Anything else?" "No, just sign these." Sue handed me a couple of documents before turning back to the suit. "Mind if I take a look at the specs for the suit, Peter? It's very interesting." "Sure, knock yourself out. You know my terminal's password?" I asked her, looking over the patent documents. "Yup." She quickly began to look through my notes. "Sometimes I forget she's as bit the scientist Reed and I are. She is always forced to take up the business side of thing. I rarely see her actually behave like a scientist and experimenting with new stuff. But I guess that's life. You don't always get what you want." Just then my phone buzzed. Curious, I picked it up and found a message from an unknown number. I opened it up and read, "Peter. This is Norman Osborn, Harry's father. I would like to invite you and the rest of the Baxter Foundation to Oscorp's annual Christmas party. I assure you, you will regret it if you don't. Many of my notable scientists will be attending and can be a learning experience for you. You are each allowed to bring one guest to this event. But note, this isn't just a party. I will also be using the stage to announce Oscorp's yearly goals for the next year. I'm sure your scientific mind is curious to see the amazing new possibilities my company has to offer. Please reply with your answer within the week. The party will be held the day before Christmas Eve. Thanking you. Norman Osborn, CEO of Oscorp. Man, this guy was narcissistic. He mentioned it was his company and his achievements like 5 times. I didn't want to go, obviously I didn't. But, if Osborn's up to something, I need to find out what. I told Sue about the invitation and she told me straight off she and the others won't be coming. That man was dangerous and the FF couldn't be seen working with him. I agreed, but since I wasn't a member of the Fantastic Four, I wasn't bound by the same limitations. So I accepted the invite. I had a few days before the party, so until then I could prepare for anything. Something felt off about this party, and I knew Spider-Man would be needed. Maybe I should ask Felicia if she wants to go.